for defunding the police, and for me, it's a reallocation of funds.
It does not appear she has made any reasonable efforts to prevent the resulting chaos.
This didn't work out.
The Biden administration knows what it needs to do, and it says, well, we'll do anything except what works. It's a special kind of stupid.
God save the Queen, man.
This is the Mark Reardon Show.
All right, good afternoon. The Hall of Famer is, it's like we're in a huddle right now, and Fred is yelling instructions at me because so many things are happening right now.
How about Fred Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
Thank you, Kenny. How is the Hall of Famer this afternoon?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm on the injured reserve list. I'll explain that here in a second.
I heard about that.
Sue, how are you?
I'm fine.
She's going to roll her eyes. Well, I played pickleball last night.
Oh, no.
It went pretty well, except for I kind of threw out my back.
How's that going well?
Well, it's just it's not too bad.
And how do you kind of...
Well, because it's just like I don't even know what happened, I'll be honest with you. And I was playing against Cusimano's wife. She was on my team for a while, and his daughter. And, man, they're good. I was the weak link last night.
Oh.
But I want to tell you about this a little bit more later because we played at this place, and this is going to segue into a more important conversation that everyone, I think, can relate to here in St. Louis. But we played at this place called Pickle and Paddle off of Olive.
I've heard of that. Well, how was it?
It was great, but here's why it was interesting. Because you just talked about this, and I didn't even know what this was. Paddle, so there was a guy named Cliff there who was an Australian guy. He had a great accent. I said, Southern Missouri accent? No, it was like Sydney. But he was telling me that this place is different because it's pickleball, and they have 5 or 6 paddle courts, and that's where you can
Fred
use
saw.
the walls. Yes.
That's where they got caught watching for hours on end.
You were the one that brought it
It
up.
was Fred.
Yeah.
So I want to try that because that's a bit more like a combination of racquetball and squash and all that stuff. But anyway, let me get to the more important stuff that people care about, and I'll get to my stuff later in the show because I do that. But Sue, I was texting you last night. So I took 40 to the Inner Belt, and then I took it to Olive. You would have thought that it was Sunday afternoon on Olive Boulevard. There was no snow that was cleared. Completely ice-packed. When I left the place, so I go down Olive and I'm heading toward 270 west, and there were a couple of times where I had to just get over because there weren't even 2 lanes of traffic.
It was so bad yesterday, Mark, in the afternoon, that both directions were jammed east of 170 all the way out well to the west of 270. In fact, it was to 141 at one point.
Well, and
people were mad,
as they should be. I don't get it. And here's something. I'm going to share this, and I'm going to keep this anonymous, but a friend shared this from a cop. And, here's what they said. This is from a cop in Chesterfield. And my friend, basically said, and this is why I feel this is a danger. I can't believe that it didn't happen. I almost saw it on Highway 270 last night. If MoDOT, this is from the friend who is not going to be identified. If MoDOT, the county, the city of Chesterfield, doesn't fix the poorly plowed intersection of Highway 40 onto southbound 141, someone's going to get killed or seriously hurt. And this person sent that to a cop who he knows, and the cop said, dude, I know. We've had accidents at Long Road entrance for the same reason. We called MoDOT multiple times. They aren't fixing the issues. Took 3 days to get the issue at Airport Road, Baxter address, and the MoDOT driver got stuck. One of my other sergeants finally talked to a supervisor that basically said, we all have new drivers and a lot of broken equipment. It's insane. And then he added, it's been like pulling teeth. I honestly think if you got Reardon to say something on the radio, it would get a faster response than we get. So frustrating. Our city crews did amazing and actually jumped in to help, free cars on county and state roads, but they can't touch ramps and stuff. It's frustrating. That's ridiculous.
Wait,
now,
who can't touch ramps?
I guess the some of the people, like the municipalities, can't do the ramps. That's not their responsibility. So I think that's MoDOT's responsibility. Some of this does come down to the question of who's really responsible? But where I live, we're 141. Maybe that's because it's a state highway and Olive isn't. I don't know. Someone's going to have to walk me through that. But the other thing is, maybe, was there a little bit more snow north of 40 than where I live? Maybe.
Yes, but clearable, right?
Right. Well, now we got more coming.
Yep.
And maybe it's only going to be a couple inches. And this one's a little different because if you're to the south, you might get more snow than if you're, right here in the city.
How far south?
Further consider, but not your South,
not
Fred.
South
You're
County.
in the metro.
All
no,
right,
it's not
deal.
like
All right.
I don't think. But we do have Dave Murray set later because he's going to give us the latest on the fires. And let me get to that because, oh, by the way, the other thing I thought was funny, there was an editorial today in the Post-Dispatch. I guess it was actually technically printed yesterday, right? And printed. That's interesting, and I'm going to come back to that here in a second. But they did this editorial. Let me pull up the headline here because I want to make sure I don't want to misquote the Post-Dispatch. I mean, they never do that to other people, right? But the editorial basically said, where the hell is it, Sue? I can't find it.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But their advice was, it was an editorial on basically don't drive on the roads, stay off the roads. And my response was, okay, that's fine, except that some people actually have to get to jobs and stuff like that. We can't all just drop our stuff and ship it off to Colombia and, that's a reference to the fact that the Post is no longer printing here in St. Louis. They're going to Columbia. So I had to make a crack like that. But while I'm on my Twitter page, because I've been really good on Twitter the last 2 days, Sue, I just want you to know.
Right.
Absolutely. This is fun. Yesterday, we talked about Karen Piper, who is the University of Missouri English professor who's gone viral and very, very famous because she tweeted out, James Woods' house is burning down. It's karma calling. Now, she deleted that. Remember, we talked about it yesterday.
Yes.
So there's a new tweet from Karen Piper where she says, because, she's been getting it from all over the planet for this ridiculous tweet that she took down. She goes, this harassment campaign is interesting. If I had time, I would figure out who started it. Well, you know how they do community notes now?
That's what her concern is?
Yeah, no, but listen, so the tweet is, this harassment campaign is interesting. If I had time, I would figure out who started it. Readers added context. She did. Karen Piper posted just one day ago, James Woods' house is burning down. It's karma. Yeah, she started it.
Yes, that's who started it.
Exactly. But while I'm on my Twitter feed, because, as I mentioned, I've been pretty good here on Twitter the last couple of days, here's a fun fact. In 2014, California voters passed Proposition 1, which directed billions of dollars for infrastructure to build water storage in reservoirs. You know how many they've built 10 years later?
How many?
0.
That's
Not
right.
one has been completed. Not one has been completed. Here's a great headline from June 5th of 2023. I believe that was a year and a half ago, if you will, right? Firefighting is mostly white and male. A California program aims to change that. That's from NPR. Last year, State Farm canceled 1,600 policies in Pacific Palisades because the state would not allow them to raise premiums enough to cover their exposure. The affected homeowners then would have to rely on the state. See, they have this FAIR plan, this pool that they have.
Fair, the word
expensive.
fair.
Well, that's right, because it's more expensive. But the FAIR plan reportedly only had a surplus of $200 million as of April of 24, and was likely to become insolvent if a catastrophic event occurred. So Governor Newsom goes around posting about politics instead of trying to solve the problems. That was from an attorney out in L.A. Let's see, because there's a couple of things that I did want to share. Oh, this is an actual headline. I cannot believe that this is an actual headline from Pride Magazine. I'm not sure if you subscribe, ladies and gentlemen.
I do not.
This is the headline. You ready? Amid Palisades fire, Los Angeles' first LGBTQ plus fire chief is proving lesbians get it done. 0% containment, and that's a real headline in a real article. Are you kidding me? It's unbelievable. Here's one more. Nope, that's it. That's all the ones I had, the tweets. But I wanted to highlight all those because I thought they were interesting. Look, this is awful what I'm seeing. And I got to first, we have Brian Kilmeade coming up. I have to really pay compliments to Trace Gallagher on Fox because, Fred, I don't know, you've been watching Fox.
Yeah.
And look, I think the default position, maybe not for our listeners, 97.1, you're going to favor Fox. But I think for the country, the default has always kind of been CNN for breaking news. I would put Fox's coverage, especially Trace, because he lives out there. He handles that broadcast from out in L.A., They skipped Gutfeld last night, and they let him handle it. And one of the things that was most amazing is he is on the Pacific Coast Highway, and he's kind of, showing the lay of the land, if you will, and then he crosses over and he says, you got to look at this. And on one side of the ocean, if you go, I think, to the north in Malibu, all the houses are there. But if you look to the south, the fire jumps over the PCH, and it took out this whole row of houses. Now, these are the houses that are huge and on the water. The water's right there. You've seen these homes in movies. They're gone. Then there's Pacific Palisades. Sue, we're looking at some images right now.
Yeah.
I mean, people have talked about this in terms of a bomb going off. It looks like a hydrogen bomb going off.
Yeah.
That entire neighborhood is devastated. There's like literally one house that's still standing. How'd you like to be the guy that has the house still standing, right? So that's unbelievable to think what people have to go through. And just think of it in this context. You have 180,000 people who have been evacuated, at this point. Many of these people whose homes are gone, or if they've been evacuated, they may not know, They have no homes. I bet the migrants out in Los Angeles, I bet they got places to stay in some nice hotels, right? How long will it be before these kids go back to school? The high school in Pacific Palisades is gone. I think the high school kids are probably happy about that because the middle school is still standing. So the middle school kids have to go to school. But you have a situation where even if you're in your home, and your home's not devastated by a fire, you got no power, likely. You may have no water. You also can't breathe because of the smoke out there and the thickness of the smoke. The kids, I can't even imagine. Fred, they were talking about this earlier on Fox. What if I have a little 10-year-old girl? What if you have to tell your kids, or your kids just basically watched your home just evaporate before them? That's got to be tough. Insurance, how do you assess this? Sue, Fred, I think we should get Steve Butts on or someone like that.
Okay.
Or maybe Steve can guide us. He's a state representative, but he's an insurance guy and has been for decades. How do you even start the assessment? How do you get an adjuster
I truly
in
don't
there,
know.
right?
I mean, it's going to have to be a team. It's going to have to be so well organized, and it's just a complete cluster.
It is a cluster. And then you have, the other thing about this is there's all kinds of things you have to think about that could even get worse. So the prediction now is because all the vegetation has been taken away, there could be big mudslides. Once you do have rain, you're going to have mudslides.
Look at that footage. I'm sorry.
It's unbelievable. That Pacific Palisades, we're watching that on Fox right now, and it's just nothing. It's just all gone. It looks like Springfield after the F5 times 10 or 20.
It is worse.
That's what it looks like. So you have a crisis in California that already exists with homes. So we were checking in. I was checking in with some folks that I know out there. Now, I'll have to tell you, I checked in with George Gray from The Price is Right 2 days ago because he lives in the Hollywood Hills, and, there were some fires that were getting closer to that. He wasn't concerned 2 nights ago. Now, I reached out to him last night, and he said, and this is, I don't know if were you following anything last night, Sue?
I wasn't.
Because what happened is the Sunset Fire was starting to get real close to the Hollywood Hills and Runyon Canyon. If you've ever seen a show where they I guess the best way I could put it is if you've seen a show from a television show, movie where people are kind of running or walking, not really even running, but hiking on trails out there in the Hollywood Hills, that's Runyon Canyon right there. And it's a very populated area, and a lot of people who are celebrities live up there. So what George told me is, well, a new fire just broke out on the hill across from me, and that was when this was, kind of breaking early last night. That's the one Drew lives on, Drew Carey, on Mulholland and Runyon, which is right down the street from him. So he said he was safe, but he said it wouldn't hurt to say a prayer or two. And, I think that they got that fire under control. That's the only one that they've really gotten under control. This is actor Zachary Levi. Now, the blame game is starting right now as well, and appropriately so, because we have Dave Strom coming on from hotair.com. Have you ever heard of the snail darter, Sue? This is the thing. Have you ever heard of the snail darter? I will remind folks. So they came up with this thing. The snail darter is going to be very affected by all this stuff in California with the dams and the blah, blah, blah and all that. The snail darter is like a made-up species now we know. The whole thing was made up. It was fiction. Yeah, wait till you hear the details on that.
My gosh.
But here's actor Zachary Levi, who has been kind of a voice for conservatism a little bit. Or here I would say common sense. Let's just say common sense. But he was reacting. I think this is with Jesse on Fox last night to some of the stuff.
I think
that's not it. That is not Zachary Levi. What did I do there, Fred? Hang on.
An acre foot of water, by the way, is about 330,000 gallons of water. And there's millions of those that are just rolling off into the ocean when they could be captured in cisterns. We'd have an ecosystem of hoses and safety measures that can keep all of these homes and people in these homes safe. And for some reason, they choose to do none of that. And at some point, it goes beyond just whoopsie. At some point, it goes beyond negligence. There's something that's almost criminally intentional about this. Like, what are they doing? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great question. I did have another bite from him. I screwed that up, apparently, because that was not the right audio. But a few things that I want to throw in here, because here's Joe Rogan, talking about this recently, right? So listen to Joe Rogan on the podcast.
I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons that freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind, and fire's going to start in the right place, and it's going to burn through L.A. all the way to the ocean, and there's not a fucking thing we can do about it.
Okay.
I go, really? Right? He goes, yeah. We just get lucky.
I had to make sure that I dumped that, and I apologize for that. I thought we would have caught the yeah. Well, Ethan, if you're listening, we missed something there. But he basically, and let me just play what Carolla said years ago. This is him telling the story of when he. Yeah, I hit that. Of when he applied to be a firefighter. We played this yesterday.
I want to talk about my white privilege so badly. I graduated North Hollywood High with a 1.7 GPA. I could not find a job. I walked to a fire station in North Hollywood. I was 19. I was living in the garage of my family home. My mom was on welfare and food stamps. And I said, can I get a job as a fireman? And they said, no, because you're not black, Hispanic, or a woman. We'll see in about 7 years. And I went to a construction site and dug ditches and picked up garbage for the next 7 years. I got a letter in the mail sent to my father's house saying, your time has come to do the written exam for the LA Fire Department. I took it, and I was standing in line, and I had a young woman of color standing behind me in line, and I said, just out of curiosity, when did you sign up to become a fireman? Because I did it, or a person, 7 years ago, and she said, Wednesday. That is an example of my white privilege.
So that's very telling when it comes to the priorities of what's happened in Los Angeles. So then Corolla follows up in this way. That was a while back.
You guys all voted for Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. You all voted for Gavin Newsom. And now you get what you get. Oh, now that your house is on fire, well, now you're thinking about something else. Now you want to know what's going on. What's going on around here? All these people who were deep blue Democrats are now going to have to pull a permit to rebuild. And when they start running into the bureaucracy and the red tape, they're going to start going nuts, and they're going to vote for Rick Caruso next time because they want to get. That's all Trump says is we're going to pull back the regulations.
You know, so we've had my friend Rick Niner on from Las Vegas before. We call it Rick's Resort. I'm actually going out there to visit him next week. But his industry that he works in is the industrial gas industry, nitrogen and oxygen. And I told this story a few years ago during the pandemic because he manages an entire region out there in California. And if you remember during the pandemic, they talked about there wasn't enough oxygen, right? Well, there was always enough oxygen. It was this liquid oxygen, and you didn't have the infrastructure to convert it to gas, right? And one of the things that he was telling me is that it is impossible for hospitals and organizations to get these tanks built, bigger tanks, more infrastructure because of the red tape and the bureaucracy. They make it impossible.
They actually do. And Adam Carolla, of course, has a podcast that Michael religiously listens to. And he's lived out there for his entire life. And he says the people now in charge of all this stuff just have put regulations out the yin-yang and kind of are enjoying the power. And it's ridiculous. And he said it's just progressively gotten worse over the years so that it makes it extremely difficult to get anything done.
So this is going to have to be a situation. And look, Gavin Newsom and Trump are going back and forth already. Here's what I would like to see, okay, after next Monday. I don't know what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot. But I think you order as many dump trucks and, tractors and anything you can. Right. Get the area cleaned up. Do whatever. This is where the federal government should have, a role. $500 million more to Ukraine. I know that was probably in the pipeline already. That was tone deaf yesterday. Let's talk about $1 billion for California or whatever we might need, because this is an utter disaster and it's going to take a lot of work. I don't know that have we ever seen anything like this? We had 9/11 jumps out for the loss of life, right?
Sure.
And what happened with the towers. But I've never seen anything like this.
I can't think of anything.
No. I mean, we've had big news events, Challenger, but and we've had F5s, we've had hurricanes, but this is and it's not over.
No, it's not, especially after we watched the Hawaii situation. I mean, it's very similar, right, with the dry brush and the spreading quickly, and they're right by the ocean, but it's...
For argument's sake, let's say this is climate change, right? And the climate has changed. Let's say that that's what you want to blame. You can't do anything about it, so you better prepare to adapt to whatever might be coming. There were warnings out there about this stuff. How you get to a situation with 100-mile-per-hour winds and you got no water that's coming out of the hydrants, someone's going to have to do a better job of explaining that. But we'll get with Kilmeade here in a couple of minutes, and we're going to cover this from a variety of angles here this afternoon. A couple things that I did want to get to just before I forget. Were you watching the funeral this morning, Fred?
Yeah.
So Jimmy Carter's funeral was this morning, and all the, the presidents, the current presidents, the former presidents, Biden, Trump were there. So Trump, did you know about this at all? Trump's sitting next to Obama, right? And they're just having a great time. And the first gentleman and Kamala, so basically Obama's sitting there chatting with Hitler, let's face it.
Yeah.
And they're kind of laughing and yucking it up. And at one point, Kamala looks back, and this is already a meme because she turns around and gives this look that's just epic. But I don't know what he said because we need some lip readers to explain what they were saying to one another because it seemed pretty entertaining.
I noticed when President Biden came in to sit down, he sat down next to his wife, Jill. And then,
Fred.
I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Go ahead.
Dr. Jill.
Dr. Jill. And she was sitting right next to Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no recognition on either part of Biden, President Biden.
No.
and Kamala.
Nothing?
No
It's
recognition.
icy. I'm telling you, I can't wait for the books to come out about this when they finally start talking about the inner workings between those two. And then, let's see, there was one other thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah, it's our mayor here in St. Louis, Tashara Jones. Big story that comes out from the St. Louis Business Journal. We covered it extensively a couple of days ago about all her travel. And, we hadn't really heard from the mayor yet, right? So here she tweeted something out today. Because she retweeted the Campbell V story that said public records reveal the mayor took 64 trips in the last 3.5 years in office. So here's what Tish said in her tweet.
Oh, I can't wait.
And this is from her personal account, not the mayor's account. So it says Tashara O. Jones, she, her. All right, just so you know. 2 main takeaways about this story. 1, Tish says, I work 24/7 without PTO.
Right.
Sorry. 2, I traveled for city business using my own money. What? No, you didn't?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Nope.
So this is, she goes, I expanded the city's national profile, and it didn't cost the city anything. So my response was, she is so full of absolute you know what? And then, wait, I'm sorry. She, her is so full of absolute you know what. We're coming back with Kilmeade. Oh, hey, this guy's coming to St. Louis. Chris Stapleton, big tour announced today. Tickets on sale tomorrow.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Accident northbound 270 past Olive. Now, this thing has been blocking the 2 left lanes, and then once you get just a little north of there, the right lane is also blocked. So, of course, we have a jam behind it. If you are northbound on 270, it is a parking lot jam that goes back through 64. Now, southbound 270 is slow in the same area from Page, really all the way down through, that's Manchester now. By the way, we have a real jam westbound on Manchester headed for 270. So if you're traveling there, expect a slow go. Lindbergh is still jammed in both directions. Just north of, it's really south of Olive down through 64. There's southbound 170 has some volume, mainly moderate, headed for 6440. There was a stall westbound 370 past Spencer Road in the right lane. And if you're leaving downtown, westbound 40, moderate volume at Clayton Skinker, and a little bit at 270. Eastbound, we just continuously have this moderate volume headed for Boone's Crossing. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan at McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyHomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
We got Mr. Kilmeade coming up here in just a couple of minutes. The Reardon family wrapped up 2024 with some exceptional service from Michael's Flooring Outlet. 2 different flooring projects. We only intended to do 1. Well, I guess originally it was 2 because we took carpeting out of my daughter's room, put hard flooring in the guest room across the way. And then when I was out of town that weekend, I got home. It looked fantastic. I was so thrilled. And I got with Mike and I said, hey, there's a little bit of product left over. And he said, well, you can get a refund for that. And I said, wait, we talked about a different project in the basement. What if we use that for that? And it all worked out. We had to add just a little bit, but man, it could not look better. And you could do these projects on a budget for sure. So if you're looking for new hard flooring, or you're looking for beautiful Mohawk silky soft carpeting, they can guide you into the best products for your lifestyle because they have the knowledge, the experience, the expertise to really guide you through a flooring project. It's kind of fun too. They'll make it fun. and you're going to be real happy with the results. IGotFloor.com, 3 locations in the St. Louis area, from Michael's Flooring Outlet, Old Town St. Peter's, in Creve Coeur on Olive, and Darden Prairie as well. IGotFloor.com.
Hey, Jimmy Fallon here with a quick listening tip for you. If you miss Fox Across America or any of your other Fox News favorites, do not worry. I got you covered. You can stream previously aired shows with Rewind, available exclusively on the free Odyssey app. So if you're busy work days, it doesn't mean you have to miss out on the news. Listen to your Fox shows on your time with Odyssey. To get started, just download the free Odyssey app and search for Fox News Radio. That's Odyssey, Audacy. I'm spelling it out in case you're a little slow like me.
Are you worried about the state of the economy? Concerned about market crashes and rising inflation wiping out your savings? At Noble Gold Investments, we understand your fears and have a solution. Call us today at 1-888-403-1050. Imagine safeguarding you and your family with a tangible asset that has stood the test of time. Gold. With Noble Gold Investments, you can diversify your portfolio and protect your wealth from economic turmoil. Our team will guide you through the process, ensuring you make informed decisions that best suit your needs. Call Noble Gold Investments today at 1-888-403-1050. That's 1-888-403-1050. The future is uncertain. Take control now. Call 1-888-403-1050.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
The 28th Winter Warm-Up is coming to Busch Stadium and Ballpark Village January 18th through the 20th. The event features 3 days full of non-stop Cardinals family-friendly fun, including tours of the Cardinals clubhouse, admission to the world-class Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum, plus access to the Cardinals Care Store, autographs, auctions, and an exhibit hall full of sports memorabilia and more. Tickets are on sale now. Proceeds benefit Cardinals Care and its mission to care for kids in the community. Find more details at cardinals.com/WWU.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
When the weather is the story is on 97.1. With live local updates and up-to-date forecasts from 97.1 Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray. Your local source for what's important. 97.1 FM Talk.
Dave Murray will have the very latest on the California fires and our next snowfall, which is going to come in overnight when he joins us live at 4:45 this afternoon. We have Sue's News in the next hour. Ilya Shapiro is going to be here from the Manhattan Institute. And then tomorrow, of course, there's this cool documentary that's on Netflix. I'm a big music guy. I think a lot of you know that. And I like to feature some music stuff in particular on Fridays. And there's a documentary called Norman's Rare Guitars about this little guitar shop in L.A., which is just fantastic. And the director of that, David Dillmore, is going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour tomorrow. Of course, a big Reardon roundtable. Steve Butts is on the panel tomorrow. I think that's good. He's an insurance guy. I'll have some reaction to everything that's happening in California from that perspective. But Jane will be here, and former St. Louis County Police Chief and County Councilman Tim Fitch on the panel. We got Paul Hall with entertainment, Cusimano, and a whole lot more, including David Dillmore from that movie Norman's Rare Guitars. Right now, Brian Kilmeade with us on a Thursday afternoon. Mr. Kilmeade, how are you?
I'm good, better than everybody in California, I'll tell you that.
I'm just shocked every time I see more images. And by the way, I have to say this because I've been glued to this stuff, and I think the Fox coverage has been amazing. I think Trace has done an unbelievable job late into the overnight hours covering these stories out there. I know he's got the California connections, but it's been exceptional, Brian. It really has been.
It doesn't surprise me. He's a fantastic reporter, and he lives there.
Yeah.
So that's where he does the show out of anywhere. So, like, he goes on at 11, but it's 8 o'clock his time. So this is right in his wheelhouse. So yesterday they preempted Gutfeld, obviously, and he did a bunch of hours, maybe 4.
Yeah, and he was doing great. Look, one of the things that I had not seen until I was watching the coverage last night, he goes down on the PCH and in Malibu, and he shows the row of houses. These are the houses that we've seen in movies. They're sitting right on the ocean. The water, as Trace even described it, is sometimes going underneath the house, and they are devastated, burnt to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I lived there for 3.5 years, and all my stuff burned in '92. So right where they were lined up, I mean, the restaurants are really the same, except for the one that's Duke's was once Sea Lion, and the same thing. Once it catches, you're not going to stop it. But there's a couple of things going on here. It started in Pacific Palisades. They usually ends there.
Right.
Number 2 is when a fire truck comes up to a hydrant. I never heard of them being empty, but this is not day one. On day one, first few hours. So there's going to be there should be a legitimate investigation into this.
Well, yeah, so the question then becomes, what do you make of the blame game right now? Obviously, Trump's involved in this. It seems to me that there are real legitimate questions about what the leadership did in California, Mayor Bass's office in particular, some of the priorities. I mean, I don't know if this is the right time to start focusing on the DEI policies of the fire department, but I think eventually that's something that's fair game.
I think it is right away, because I also factor in, I didn't realize how many people, a lot of people got fired because they wouldn't get the vaccine. So you have a job that is trying to look for minorities who have a sexual proclivity that is hard to find, and who has a chief or a superintendent that thinks our number one qualification should be lesbian. And then she goes out and says, we're going to be the most diverse police fire department ever. Does anybody say to yourself, I just hope that ambulance has a diverse crew? I hope that fire truck that saves my house has somebody from every ethnicity. So, I mean, we're past this point. I think it underlines again how America is snapping out of it and hopefully won't tolerate it. And they should be embarrassed to say stuff like that.
One of the frightening things about what's going on now in L.A. and L.A. County is that I don't know what the end game is here, because they're getting some relief, and luckily they've got airplanes and helicopters up, but those winds are supposed to pick up, and there's forecast for high winds into the middle of next week. So I guess the good news is they got the Hollywood Hills contained relatively quickly. That was something that was clearly prioritized, but these fires might burn for another week or so.
I can't imagine. Number one, there's almost nothing left to burn on this. You know, Jake Steinfeld, who is a real good friend of the show, the network, personally, he lost everything. And he's got great insurance. You know, he got out to Los Angeles with $111 in Fox.
Okay, well, we got some phone line problems there with Brian, and that does not sound good at all. And then, Brian, can you hear me now? I don't know I think we may have lost him, unfortunately. So that's not a very good situation, unfortunately, but we'll see if we can figure that out. And Ethan, if you can hear me, Sue is not here to do traffic. If she's somewhere in another studio, this is where I'm a little disadvantaged because I don't have direct communication with my producer. But that is not a good situation. We'll see if we can hook up with him after the break. I do have another story that I want to focus on. We'll take a break. We'll get traffic. We'll come back with more here in a moment on 97.1 FM Talk.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
On the roads this afternoon, well, we do have some issues out there. And there was an accident northbound 270 past Olive. And this has been blocking the left lanes. And now we're down to one left lane. So the left lane is blocked. And then just past there, the right lane is blocked. So traffic on northbound 270 is a solid parking lot jam that goes back through 64. Well, southbound is already slow through there, and that is from Page all the way down through Manchester. Now, there's also a jam on the ramp from 270 to westbound 364, because that ramp is a little dicey, so take care through that area. Westbound 70 out of downtown is fine. There's some moderate volume at the Blanchette Bridge. 64, just some moderate volume Hampton out through McCausland. We've got a jam southbound 55 in the construction zone, headed for Rivas Barracks. And if you're headed into Illinois, we still look good on the bridges downtown. Be careful on those side streets. I mean, the worst thing I deal with is my own alley and then the side streets to even get to something that's clear. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Was this the day that the Dow was actually closed, Sue? Do you remember, is the Dow closed today? Because of the Jimmy Carter funeral. I'll have to check on that. I thought that it was. But I want to talk about your retirement, because if you're following the stock market, it's been up, it's been down. Some people still may be forecasting a correction. Don't, if you're approaching retirement, put all your eggs into that one basket. And Thomas Helbig and the team from the Retirement Advisory Group are going to help you not make mistakes. Their key and their philosophy is safely linking to the markets, different than traditional brokerage firms, and they can help you and guide you into a retirement that still is going to be very comfortable. Maybe you have a little left to leave to your family as well. But it's a tougher time because of inflation, which makes it even more important to get into the office and see Thomas and the team. If you have a connection with them, you're going to want to move forward. One of the things that I learned from Thomas's clients a few years ago is they all said one thing to me when I reached out to a handful, about 10. Thomas gave me some numbers. I called, and they all were very consistent in saying they wish they would have met him sooner. You don't have to make that mistake and get with Thomas and the team right now. We have more seminars coming up here in a very short time, but you can skip the line and go right in. 314-993-9494 or online, retirementkey.com for the official financial planners of this show. Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group.
Wow, this year has flown by, and now you're planning to sell your home. You know, like you, most families have been waiting on the sidelines. Well, now the timing is better, but you still have questions, right? Hey, Mark Cox here from my friend and trusted realtor, Gloria Liu, with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I've been telling you about Gloria Liu for years now. Why? Because Gloria Liu is St. Louis real estate expert, and if you have a home to sell, you need to get to know her like I have. I've seen her systems, her guarantees. I've even met her clients. In fact, I'm also a client. She's different than any other realtor, and if you need help selling your home for the most money, you need to do what I did. Call Gloria Liu. Here's another tip. If you have a home to sell in Crestwood, Shaw, Maplewood, the Central West End, you must give Gloria Liu a call. Take it from me and call my friend Gloria Liu at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
St. Jude exceeds any expectation or any dream I could have ever had about a hospital. First was getting David here to save his life. But then I was told we wouldn't get a bill. I didn't quite process that. How's this possible? It's possible through all the wonderful people who donate.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. If you think about that, I mean, go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine.
The research here is research that we share with everyone else because overall we want to help all children that have cancer. What makes that possible is people that give to St. Jude. They really help us to fulfill our mission, and we're so grateful to have them on our team.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Friday, the state of Illinois is once again trying to take your guns without due process. We'll talk to the Illinois Freedom Caucus at 7:35.
The Mark Cox Morning Show, weekdays from 5 to 9, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
St. Louis is home for conservative talk.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show.
Well, that was a bummer. I don't know. We got technical problems with the phone lines. Hopefully, we're going to get that figured out before Ilya Shapiro in the next hour. It's always something around here, Sue. Not only that was, and this is, we don't complain about this as much because it was fixed apparently, and the listeners are very concerned about the temperature in the studio when we did talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
But we haven't had an issue with the temperature in the studio in weeks, ever since I brought my thermometer in magically, and it said 66, and then all of a sudden we haven't had to complain. But they're working on something outside of where my office is, and they had the windows open, and it was literally, I had the thermometer still, was 63 degrees in my office. 63!
Yeah, that's chilly.
Along those lines, you're wearing an interesting jacket this afternoon, Sue.
I am.
If people would like to check this out on the YouTube feed or on the X, formerly Twitter, because honestly, this looks like a jacket that I had in about 1977.
Yeah, that would be correct. Part of what happened during Christmas in Grafton is that Michael's mother said, "You know what? I think I have your bee coat." And I said to Mike, she said, "Your bee coat from when you were in 4th or 5th grade." And we, who didn't know what they were talking about, said, "Say what?" And it's a coat that he wore. It was his first down coat, so it would have been in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And he was a tall kid. He's a tall guy. So it's just perfect for me to wear.
It looks a little like there's Rams colors involved. It's blue and yellow stripe. But I'm telling you, I can't tell you this 100%. Maybe if my mom and dad are watching on the stream, I swear to God, I had the same coat.
Did you really? It would be the same time. It's Lord and Taylor. I looked at it.
Every once in a while, you know what else was real popular back then? Oh, that sounded too fancy. I don't think I would have done
he
Lord
was
and
kind
Taylor.
of surprised when he saw that too.
Yeah.
He thought, "Wow,
I don't think I
realize.
would have, because I don't think they had those in Chicago. Maybe they did. But I mean, it looks. But
Well,
let's
that's where
face
he
it.
was at the time.
Oh, well, there it is. Maybe
Yes.
it was. That's interesting.
He would have been in Geneva.
Wow, that's fascinating. But my point on that was, you every once in a while I'll see a movie that's set in the 80s, and they used to have these, they would call them like rugby shirts.
Yes,
remember?
we had rugby shirts, and they had rubber buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you
But
knew they were real.
I'll see a movie every once in a while, I was like, I had that rugby shirt. I
heck
had that for
yeah.
sure. Those never really made a comeback, did they?
No, they really did. But maybe they will. They're kind of big and bulky, but they were really hip for a while.
I don't know. Hip is not the word I would use, but we all wore them. So we're going to continue, and I apologize for Brian. I don't know what happened there with the technology, but we'll get back on track here. We got Sue's News in the next hour. Ilya Shapiro will be here from the Manhattan Institute, and Dave Murray's going to jump on and kind of give us another update on what's happening in California with the wildfires. Some good news. Some of the fires are a little bit more contained, but they still have more winds, and these high wind conditions are going to continue through next week. And it's just an utter disaster. So we'll continue to cover that. But one of the things I didn't get to this week was the changes at Facebook when it came to censorship and just some of their policies. This was Mark Zuckerberg a couple of days ago.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram.
Go figure. I wonder why he's doing this. Can it be something to do with Trump?
We're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US.
Finally did that, right? Because they were spiking a lot of content.
There's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech.
You know, I'm going to rate that as true. And just to put all this in context, let me share something from a woman by the name of Margie Conklin, who wrote about this in the Free Press, because this is what happened several years ago that finally led Mark Zuckerberg to have an epiphany. I don't think it's that. I think it's Trump's election, right? To say, what we're doing here is wrong. We have to change it. So Margie wrote, when I first heard that Mark Zuckerberg was shutting down Facebook's fact-checking department, my first thought was too little too late. That's because I've had my own experience with this team of fact-checkers. She goes back to February of 2020. This was right before the pandemic was, taking us all for 2 weeks to stop the, spread, and then the whole world shut down, right? Back in February of 2020, when I was the Sunday editor of the New York Post, China expert Stephen Mosher pitched me a theory about how the coronavirus started. Back then, it was believed that it came from a wet market in Wuhan, but Stephen was unconvinced. He said it was much more likely that it had leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which had been doing experiments with the coronavirus for years. Now, Margie points out this was before the lockdowns. This was before COVID had spread across America and killed millions of people. I mean, it was really, really active in Europe and Italy in particular, but it all happened very quickly here. We got to that first week of March. We were supposed to have NCAA tournament games here in St. Louis, and everything got canceled. We all know what happened at that point. But this was at a point where people were just starting to talk about the possibility of a global pandemic. So Margie says, I was happy to publish Stephen's piece because I figured the world would want to hear an alternative idea at an important moment from a social scientist who had lived in China and written books about the country. So she says, I was right about the story. In fact, now we know this. The lab leak theory is now seen as the most likely explanation for COVID's origins. But Margie says I was wrong and naive to think that anyone in power would want to hear it. We published the piece, again, this was in the New York Post, on February 22nd under the headline, Don't Buy China's Story. The coronavirus may have leaked from a lab. It went viral immediately, its audience swelling for a few hours as readers liked and shared it over and over again. Now, she says, I had a data tracker on my screen that showed the web traffic, and I could see the green line for my story surging up and up. And then, this is where it gets interesting. Suddenly, for no reason, the green line dropped like a stone. No one was reading or sharing the piece. It was though it had never existed at all. So she says, seeing the story's traffic plunge, I was stunned. I thought, how does that even happen? How does a story that thousands of people are reading and sharing suddenly just disappear? Later, she says, the New York Post digital editor gave me the answer. Facebook's fact-checking team had flagged the piece as, quote, false information, unquote. I was shocked, she says, and embarrassed. Never in my life had a story I'd worked on been deemed, quote, false information. And she admits, for a moment, I second-guessed myself. I was worried that I'd done something wrong or that I had caused reputational damage and possibly even financial damage to the Post. If your outlet gets dinged 3 times by Facebook, the digital editor told me, they pretty much censor all your stories from the platform. No media outlet could afford that. In the meantime, she says, I kept seeing stories by legacy media outlets parroting the wet market theory, turning the idea of the lab leak into a conspiracy theory. The message was clear. The Post was irresponsible for even suggesting such hogwash. And Margie wrote, look, I felt ridiculous, or I feel ridiculous admitting it now. But even after more than 25 years as a journalist, even though I worked at a more irreverent newspaper, I strongly believed that our most prestigious outlets believed in seeking the truth. I trusted them, she says. Now I realize that they were pushing a singular narrative and squelching all other discussion. I was seeing big tech censorship of the American media in real time, and it chilled me to my bones, and it should have. And some of us had been chilled, and we were paying attention to this. And then guys like Mike Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi in particular, and I've described Matt Taibbi, he is and had been a left-wing, I don't even know how to describe it. He wrote for Rolling Stone for literally decades about climate nonsense, blah, 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 hating the Bush administration. He could not have been more on the fringe of the left. But then something amazing happened to Matt Taibbi and some other liberals out there. They got pretty pissed off that big tech was censoring content that was pretty valuable. And Margie says what even happened next was even more chilling, because then she finds out that the expert, the so-called expert, who advised Facebook to censor the piece, had a major conflict of interest. This is where it gets even deeper. Professor Danielle E. Anderson had regularly worked with researchers at Wuhan at the Institute of Virology and even done her own experiments at the Institute. And she's the person who told Facebook's fact-checkers that the lab had strict control and containment measures. Well, Margie wrote, yeah, of course she did. Facebook's fact-checkers took her at her word. A, quote, expert had spoken. This is why I go on the mantra against experts, because the experts have been debunked quite a bit. Wuhan's lab was deemed secure, and the Post story was squashed in the interest of public safety. Mark Zuckerberg's team wasn't going to challenge the party line on the pandemic, especially after it was reported last year. Let's remember, President Biden started pressuring Facebook to censor stories about COVID. Now, she says, thankfully, the Post won the battle to have Facebook's false information flag removed after a few months. But other outlets didn't seem to care. In the years that followed, I watched as the elite media happily continued to dismiss the Post as the purveyor of false information. The other stories that you're familiar with at this point, like Hunter Biden's laptop, Joe Biden's fitness to run the free world. There's a story that no one's really tackled yet. Yep. The biggest cover-up in maybe American political history. Let's just refer to it as that way. Outlets like Politico, the Washington Post, the New York Times sneered at the Post as far right, as a tabloid with a political axe to grind, trying to convince their readers that nothing that the paper reports is true. Well, now we know, that Facebook finally, because of a lawsuit, and our state was important in jumping on that with Eric Schmidt and then Andrew Bailey, that the fact checks that they do are just opinion. So Zuckerberg finally admits he's wrong, and he's getting rid of the fact-checking department. Margie writes, it's not easy to deliver such a public mea culpa, but still I wonder how much it will help. Once you've shut down a toxic waste dump that's been poisoning a landfill for years, the ground is never the same. And that's what has happened to the American media with the help of big tech. I now wonder, and I think I'm answering my own question, would this have ever happened if Kamala Harris, in a horrifying way, would have won the White House? Probably not. Sue's News is coming up. Ilya Shapiro in the next hour as well. Dave Murray, the latest on the fires in our snowfall.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We've we've had our issues on the roads already this afternoon. By the way, I want to mention this. There's a stall eastbound 70 past Goodfellow. Watch for that on the right shoulder. Now, other than that, the problem has been an accident northbound on 270, really close to Olive, and they've been blocking the left lanes. They had at one point the 2 left lanes. Now it was down to 1. Well, now they've cleared it, so things look fine through there. But we had such a jam that the damage is done and a slow go that went back through 64, so it's taking a while to unwind. And we've got southbound 270 really stacked up in that area from Page down through Manchester. Southbound 141, heavy and slow south of Olive down through 64. We've got a lot of slow-moving traffic on Lindbergh, especially south of Olive down through 64. And westbound 44, a little slow at Elm and at Lindbergh. 55 slowing at Rebus Barracks. 44 is slow in front of the Arch. But we look fine on the bridges downtown. And northbound 170, there is an accident reported at Frost. That's creating a jam back through 70. So be careful through there as well. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is here with same-day emergency service. They will not leave you stuck. The original Red Ribbon Garage Door Company, trusted in St. Louis since 1926. Call 314-781-5200 or schedule online at overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Yes, and another thank you to Jeff from Overhead Door, who came to my house more than a week ago and just completely sucked my fantasy football winnings right out of my checkbook by fixing my garage door. But he did fix it, and he did a great job replacing the springs. New Perspective Senior Living is in Weldon Spring. It's fantastic. It really is. It's a new facility, brand new, just opened a few months ago. Independent living, assisted living, memory care. They have this amazing AI fall detection system that works in real time. They have awesome apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom with stainless steel appliances and big closets and, of course, granite countertops. They're beautiful. They would love for you to come over and take a tour. I would love for you to go on the website, even just watch the video of Betty, the mother-in-law of the founder of New Perspective. She had Alzheimer's, and she was the inspiration for the company New Perspective, which is in Minnesota. That's where they're based. First time here in Missouri at all. npseniorliving.com in Weldon Spring. Check them out today. Great location, not too far from Progress West Hospital. New Perspective Senior Living. And as in Nancy, P as in Paul, npseniorliving.com. Tell them that we sent you along.
Hi, I'm Officer John Van Gordon, recruiter with the Springfield Police Department. We are currently looking for driven, qualified, and team-oriented citizens to become the next generation of community-minded servants here in Springfield. Our salaries and benefits are paid from day one. Plus, right now, new recruits are eligible to receive a $5,000 hiring incentive, and experienced officers looking to transfer are eligible for $10,000. To learn more, visit gospd.com. That's gospd.com.
Brought to you by the Springfield, Missouri Police Department.
The holiday season may be coming to a close, but there's still plenty of time to make it a magical one. Ring in the new year with something stunning and timeless from Diamonds Direct. Start the new year with a celebration of your love, or even a celebration of yourself. Whether you're shopping for the perfect wedding bands, a beautiful pair of diamond studs that were missing from under your tree, or the engagement ring of their dreams, Diamonds Direct has just what you're wishing for. This year, make your New Year's resolution to shop smarter by shopping direct. Making a decision on where to make your next jewelry purchase has never been easier. At Diamonds Direct, you're guaranteed to get an extraordinary value, ironclad warranties, and the white glove service that we've long been known for. Let the experts at Diamonds Direct show you the difference in a concierge luxury shopping experience. Kick off the new year the way you've always wanted. Customize your experience in-store or online at diamondsdirect.com today. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
We got Sue's News just around the corner.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Miles of homes in ruin. Elisa Brady, Fox News. And the firefight isn't over yet in Southern California, with tens of thousands still under evacuation orders and the biggest of several wildfires still uncontained as hurricane-force winds subside in some areas.
For us in firefighter speak, it's a horizontal fire. It's a structure-to-structure fire spread that is a conflagration.
No firefighter, no suppression efforts is going to get in front of that.
U.S. Fire Administrator Lori Moore Merrill calling conditions ahead of the fires extreme. Sheriff's officials say it's not clear yet how many people have died with search and rescue efforts ongoing, but a sixth death has just been confirmed after a body was found in Malibu. President Biden holding a briefing on the federal response.
And folks, I want to underscore, I told the governor and local officials, spare no expense to do what they need to do and contain these fires and in their communities that are really been devastating. And we're doing literally everything we can at a federal level.
At the White House just announcing the federal government will cover 100% of the cost for 180 days of the fire response. The president-elect has criticized the federal, state, and local management of fire-related issues. A warning from the L.A. County DA to looters and scammers.
We will arrest you, we will prosecute you, and we will punish you to the full extent of the law.
District Attorney Nathan Hochman just telling Fox News his own sister's home in Pacific Palisades burned to the ground. Sheriff's officials say at least 20 people have been arrested for looting so far. The Lake and Riley Act advances in the U.S. Senate, winning bipartisan support to begin debate. Some Democrats supporting the bill to allow the chance for amendments. That bill would require detention of illegal immigrants arrested for theft and burglary, named after a Georgia nursing student murdered by an immigrant who entered the U.S. illegally and is now in prison for life. America is listening to Fox News.
So this new dose is, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
More and more clouds take over going through our Thursday afternoon. It's cold, 32. A little storm system passing pretty far to our south tonight. Clouds, a little light snow after midnight, 25. Friday, light snow in the morning. Otherwise, a cloudy day and 32. A dusting to 1 inch of snow across the St. Louis area. Clouds Friday night, 18. Weekend is quiet, sunny, and in the 30s. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
I'm Chad Robison with Your Money Now. President Joe Biden delivered the eulogy this morning at the state funeral for former President Jimmy Carter. The speech at the Washington National Cathedral served as one of Biden's final public speaking appearances before leaving office in nearly 10 days. Both the stock exchange and NASDAQ were closed today for that national day of mourning. Markets will resume their normal schedules tomorrow. Egg prices have soared more than 60% in the last year, according to the USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service. Experts are pointing to bird flu impacting nearly 110 million birds, increased inflation for fuel and labor, and a spike in egg consumption during the holiday season as the main reasons for that rise in price. The national average for a dozen eggs hit $3.37 last October. U.S. crude oil futures for February up more than 1.2% above $74 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay. Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZER.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
I have some amazing audio of a woman who runs up to Gavin Newsom in California and says, "What the hell are you doing to help us?" Essentially, that's coming up here before Sue's News on 97.1 FM Talk. I'm so excited about this weekend in particular because it's the first weekend here in Missouri I get to play with Underdog Fantasy, and I want you to download the Underdog app because now we can do this in Missouri, thankfully. Underdog Fantasy is available in Missouri. It's the best place to cash in on all your takes. There's a Blues game tonight, and here's how it would work. They have a champs game. You can win up to 1,000 times your money by choosing higher or lower on the stats. I'll give you an example of that here in a second, but the first thing you need to do is download the app, sign up for an account, pick a username, I think it's your email address, password, and then use the promo code when you sign up, Mark R, and then deposit. You can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly with the promo code Mark R on Underdog when you play champs. So do that, and then for the game tonight, like you can do, how many shots will Braden Shen have? Higher than 1.5. We're going to go higher with that. We can pick someone like Robert Thomas with, let's say he's going to shoot at least, or he's going to get 1 goal tonight. We can even pick someone, if we have to, like McTavish from Anaheim and say, yeah, he's going to get lower than 2.5 shots. So you combine those things together, you put your dollar amount in there, and you can win some money. You can cash out at any time, or you can kind of roll that in to your next wagers as well. So check out Underdog. Use that promo code MarkR. Underdog, the best place to play champs. Download the app, sign up with promo code MarkR. Deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. The promo code is MarkR, M-A-R-K-R. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
You've listened to 97.1 FM Talk. You've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend right here on 97.1 FM Talk. And you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Thinking of buying a new home? Think T.R. Hughes. T.R. Hughes Homes has great prices on beautiful new homes at 4 desirable locations. Charlestown Landing in North St. Charles, convenient to Highway 370, The Grove at Riverdale, and St. Paul with standard 4-car garages, just 10 minutes from the St. Peter's Dearborns. Arbor Valley and Wentzville on Highway N with minimum half-acre wooded lots. And our newest community, Elkhorn Ridge in Truesdale, just west of Wright City, minutes from Highway 70. Come and see why T.R. Hughes is St. Charles and now Warren County's premier home builder. trhughes.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Your voice can be key to changing lives. That's why the American Cancer Society is calling on Black women from all walks of life to join Voices of Black Women, a groundbreaking research study led by the American Cancer Society and backed by more than 70 years of trusted cancer research studies and breakthroughs. The Voices of Black Women study is designed to better understand why and how cancer and other conditions impact Black women. It's a commitment to partnering with Black women to better understand their lived experiences. Learn more at voices.cancer.org.
Look at this. Everything is on fire.
5, 6, 8, 10 houses in our neighborhood just gone like that.
Never seen anything like this. Oh my gosh.
Everybody trying to get out.
I'm living through a war right now, and I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. I'm shocked.
Damn, bro. Damn.
Yeah, Yeah, some of the reaction from folks either taking video or walking back into their neighborhoods or just being utterly confused by the devastation and the continued, burning of houses just to the ground out there in Los Angeles and Los Angeles County. Now, we're going to have Dave Murray on a little bit later, Sue. After Sue's news, we have Ilya Shapiro coming up as well from the Manhattan Institute on some Supreme Court stuff. They have a hearing tomorrow on TikTok, and we're going to talk about that. And he's got some thoughts on masking, not the same type that we used during COVID, but he wrote a piece on how we should probably ban some of the masks out there because you got the bad guys that are trying to cover up their faces when doing nefarious things. But this is just something that happened, I think, a short time ago. This is a woman who ran up to Gavin Newsom on the street, I think in Pacific Palisades, basically saying, hey, what are you doing for us?
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
So she tracks him down to his car where he's on the phone.
To specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Is the
All right, so basically what's happening there is he says he's trying to call the president, and he might be, and he can't get the signal out, right?
I'm taking your call.
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To
everything
fill the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally. You know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself. I understand. But would you do that?
She's not stopping.
But you're not. I see do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including making sure people
I'd
are
like
safe.
to make sure you do. Can I have an opportunity to at least tell people you're doing what you're saying you're doing? Could somebody have a contact? Can I have your contact?
Yeah, that didn't go very well, but they tried to usher out. He was trying to stay calm because he knew that he was on audio and video, but this is some of the back and forth that we've heard from the California, governor with the future president and the former president, Donald Trump. So Trump takes a jab at him.
The governor has not done a good job. With that being said, I got along well with him when he was governor. We worked together very well, and we would work together. I guess it looks like we're going to be the one having to rebuild it.
Remember, didn't he say, during the whole thing, Trump was always saying kind of nice things about Newsom, during the campaign, and Newsom would repeat that as well, but not so nice anymore, and then Newsom rips him.
What is the situation with the water? Local folks are trying to figure that out. I mean, just when you have a system that's not dissimilar to what we've seen in other extraordinarily large-scale fires. I mean, those hydrants are typical for 2 or 3 fires, maybe 1 fire. You have something at this scale.
But the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's...
well, yeah, you can.
People are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools, families completely torn asunder, churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it.
Well, but what Anderson Cooper should have said, because Anderson basically just fed him the answer.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, he's trying to politicize it. Anderson said, but Governor, how about some of the things that you did? Why was the budget cut in Los Angeles? Some of this is on Karen Bass, not necessarily Newsom. And on the topic of Karen Bass, she's in Ghana. She comes back when the city is on fire. And then check this out here.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL.
Are you serious?
Yeah, she doesn't even know what she's saying.
Oh, my
She doesn't even know what she's saying.
Oh, my gosh.
She's an idiot. I mean, it's clearly to become a mayor in one of America's cities like St. Louis or Los Angeles, you have to be a complete idiot.
Go to URL?
Yeah,
I don't even know what to say. That's insane. She has no contact with reality.
No, she doesn't have any contact with reality. And people are pissed, though. So
Well,
we're going
they
to see
should
where this takes us. And I mentioned, in 2014, this is on Newsom. I'd like to find out more about Prop 1. 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago now, they voted this Proposition 1, which directed billions of dollars for infrastructure, for water, and, to put water in reservoirs. Nothing's happened. They haven't built one. Meantime, they're building choo-choo trains out there at a cost of $3 billion plus with their light rail, the high-speed rail. How is that helping people who don't have houses right now, right?
Not
it's
at
just
all.
a big pie-in-the-sky boondoggle. Think of Metrolink here in St. Louis in times 100 or 1,000, because that's how big of a monstrosity that is in California. And it's not going to end up helping anybody. I mean, they're devastated out there. And I know it's not the entire region. There's 8 million, 10 million, 12 million people out there. If you've ever flown into L.A., the houses just go on forever and ever and ever. So it's not like the entire area is devastated. But this is pretty widespread, and in a way that we've never seen this before in an American city, certainly from wildfires. We've seen devastation. We've seen Lahaina, but nothing along these lines. And we're going to continue to cover it with Dave Murray. And then we got Sue Snow on the way tomorrow, too. Or tonight.
Yeah, it's
so
tonight.
What are we're going to find out from Dave, but I'm hearing maybe just an inch or two. But the snow line seemingly grows as you're a little further south. Fred was hoping that was not going to mean South County, and I don't think it does. But if you're further south to where they got ice last week, they're going to get snow.
That's great.
Yeah,
All of it's great.
They're not. The damn kids aren't going to have school tomorrow, right?
I don't know. I guess not, because, on the unplowed areas, this will be up to 2 inches on top of ice.
So, Becky, I had to go to get my car serviced today, and that took me an hour just to get to Olive from where I live, and that was a pain in the ass. But Becky took Alexa to school because the buses weren't coming in the neighborhoods, and I usually take her anyway. And that was a cluster with all these parents because the roads are still a little snow-packed by the school, and you had long lines of parents. So it was not easy to, I give Rockwood credit for opening the schools again, but again, they're probably going to have to close it back up tomorrow. I know my daughter's already rooting for that. Let's do this here this afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
I first would like to say that we have no water at my house because a water main break happened across the street. You know how you see flashing lights out of the side of your eye and you think, oh, that's nice, that's going by. But it kept happening. So I look out the window, and sure enough, last night there's bubbling water, just like the bubbling crude from the Beverly Hillbillies, coming out and rolling down the street. I mean, it's across the street. We're thinking, it's just going to be a slick of ice.
Right.
And they came and taped it off. And then this morning, the trucks rolled in, and it's still bubbling. And I went to talk to the guy in the truck, and he said, this is the main for the whole street, and we have the new pipe here. We just have to dig in and find out whether the whole pipe needs replacing or whether we can just kind of bind this one up. And it could be 4 to 8 hours, depending on. So I texted my neighbor across the street. I said, Nancy, do you know about this? And she's like, I ran a bucket of water. And I thought, I don't know what for, but I'm going to get a bucket of water. So I got a bucket of water. Then I put little, things of water all around. Because what if it does go for 8 hours or something weird happens? And I thought, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this bucket of water. And then I had to go to the bathroom. And I thought, ta-da. So when you flush, then I have a bucket of water and I dump that in the tank.
You can't do that. Yeah.
So I didn't think of it. Shout out to neighbor Nancy.
Well, and you know what? I hope you get your water back on first and foremost. These poor guys, and maybe women too, not to be sexist, that have to work outside and do this stuff.
And I had to talk with that guy, and he's like, you know what? There's nothing we can do. And this time of year is when they start to break.
Right.
Because it's so cold. So he said, just hang with us. But water on this day, it was 17 degrees when I was talking to him. He said usually it has to get to 19 before they'll let us really start to work.
Well, and the only good thing about today is that there was a lot of sunshine and it felt warm. Like I parked the car in the driveway instead of the garage, and when I thought I was going to have to start it, it was pretty warm because it was sitting in the sun. So I think the reason I bring that up is that we're getting meltage.
Yes.
Is that a word, meltage?
Well,
I think it is.
now.
It is now. But I think we're getting a little bit of relief just in time for more snow tomorrow. And I saw a lot of crews on, I was on 270 and 44 today. Saw a lot of crews trying to clear off the shoulders, if you will.
Good.
Essentially to prepare for more snow.
There's still some ice I can't get off my driveway. Probably
me
like
too.
a quarter of my
Yeah.
driveway. It's
Did
just
you guys put
so
the
hard.
salt on it, or is it just beyond?
You know what, though, Fred? It would have, because right before I left
Right.
today, and I left probably around 1 o'clock, it was slushy enough where you could have cleared my driveway off. I just didn't have time. But by the time you get home tonight, it's going to be refrozen again.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. On this day in history, we got a little music, Mark. 41 years ago today, in 1984, Van Halen released their 6th album, baby.
That was on this day?
Woo, yep. 41 years ago, and the album itself, the 6th album, is called 1984. Jump, Panama, All Wait, Hot for Teacher, all of that on this one album.
That was a big one.
Yeah, it was huge. And then, oh, this is bizarre to think about. 18 years ago today, just 18 years. In 2007, Steve Jobs unveiled the iPhone. Doesn't it seem like we've had it forever? It was only, you guys, the iPhone is only 18 years old.
That really is amazing.
It is.
What did we do before that? I mean, was
Flip
there Blackberries?
phones and Blackberries.
Some people have Blackberries. We have
Yeah.
flip phones.
I had a
I
candy
honestly,
bar phone. You know,
I
for
can't
a
really
while.
even envision the phone that I might have had right before the iPhone.
I can't either. I had one for a while that you pressed the sides and a little beep popped up, a little screen popped up, but there was nothing you could do on it but see numbers that you dialed.
Yeah, some fancy people had those bag phones.
Oh, the
You know,
bag phones.
like, and news reporters would
Right, I
have
had
the
that, but that was
phones.
like
Super
mid-90s
early.
is
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
had that. But
Yeah,
yeah.
super
And, you know, then I made the mistake, like, when the iPhone, the thing about the iPhone, and I know that people went through Blackberries and different phones, but those phones weren't always easy to figure out how to use,
No,
right?
and they had teeny tiny
Yeah.
little keys.
So
Yeah.
the iPhone was so easy.
Yeah, you're right.
It was
You're
so
right.
expensive, but it was so easy to learn how to use it.
You're right. That was kind of the genius of the whole thing. An annual study found traffic cost the average commuter about 43 hours of their life last year, and they've got the top 10 cities with the worst traffic. What would you think the top 3 are, Fred?
Dallas, New York, and L.A.
It's Los Angeles at number 3.
I'm going to go Houston. I'm going to put Houston in there.
Nope.
Okay.
Oh.
L.A. at number 3. Number 2 is Chicago. Number 1, New York. Those people spend 102 hours
Yeah, that
sitting
makes sense.
around in traffic.
That does
It's
make
hideous.
sense.
What's bigger, Houston or Dallas?
I think Houston
I
at
think
this
Houston's
point.
right, yeah.
I believe it's the
I just know
number
my
4.
son talks about the traffic down there is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. And that reminded me, then I found another story about Vietnam. Vietnam is paying people to report bad drivers. So if you see somebody
job.
there, you could get up
I'll
to
take that
right?
gig.
You could get up to $200 a pop. If you see somebody in Vietnam texting and driving or running a red light, you can report them, and then they give you 10% of whatever the fine was.
Didn't you see
How
somebody?
about that?
Yeah, like yesterday in downtown, just run through a red light, Mark, when you were on your way here to work.
Well, they do it all the
Oh.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So you could get 10% of their fine, which I thought was kind of wow. The maximum payout is just under $200, or technically 5 million dong. That's the national currency of Vietnam.
Thank you for
just wanted to
translating
throw
it, for
that in.
sure.
Yeah, sure.
You can never have enough dong, is what I say, Sue. I don't
Do
know.
you? Yeah, it's a mantra. And Meta, the company that owns Facebook, Instagram, Threads, WhatsApp, has announced that it will allow eBay listings to appear on Facebook Marketplace. Now, this is huge.
That is big.
Yeah.
Right? This is a really big deal. And just this news alone drove eBay stock up by 9% yesterday. They're going to test it out in the U.S. and France and Germany. This should help eBay because they've had so much competition since Facebook and anything online has really come around.
Yeah, because
Walmart.com.
The default for me,
Amazon.
and it used to be eBay, and even for selling things, we've gone through periods. My wife's really good at this, where she sold years ago a lot of stuff on eBay. But it's Facebook Marketplace where people find stuff these days.
I know. It's a thing. And since it's already this time, we'll do today's random fact. Eleanor Roosevelt. Sorry.
There was some
crowd.
interesting timing
That
there.
was bizarre, wasn't it? Eleanor Roosevelt refused to let a Secret Service member travel with her when she was First Lady. She just carried a pistol. And that's
Wow.
it for Sue's News. How about that?
I like that a lot. We need to go back to that, maybe. I like that. All right, Ilya Shapiro's coming up. We got an interesting TikTok hearing at the Supreme Court. He's got some ideas on masking, not the COVID type of masking. We'll get to that. Dave Murray at 4:45.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
On the roads, there was an incident on southbound 270 at the Rock Road. The right lanes are blocked and traffic is really stacked up behind that. If you are southbound on 270, expect a delay that starts at 370. Now, we had an earlier accident northbound 170 at Frost, and we still have some slow-moving traffic back near 70. Southbound 270, just a parking lot. And this is from Page, and it goes all the way down through Manchester. Northbound, some slow going in there. But also a parking lot is southbound 141. That's south of Olive down through 64. Southbound 170 slowing at 6440. And 55 southbound, slow pockets in the construction zone, south of Arsenal down through Rebus Barracks. Westbound 70, we've got an accident reported as you approach 79. Look for some slow-moving traffic there. I'll tell you where we look good, and that is on the Poplar Street Bridge. If you're headed into Illinois, really no delays through there. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan of McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
I'll tell you what, if you know that you need to plan for your retirement, but just really don't have a good handle on everything that's involved, I know a really quick and easy way to do this. And it's an adult education class. It's called Retirement Planning 101. And it's a one-night class. It's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects, and these people have so much experience. They're really good teachers, and they will walk you through everything. Now, these are held at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You're going to learn tax-saving strategies, IRA and 401k withdrawals, Roth conversions, Social Security, and they're free. You just have to bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Now, there are still openings for classes this month and next, so call 314-947-2012. That's 314-947-2012, and you can get into one of these classes and start the process. It's Financial and Tax Architects.
One of the things with running is I want to enjoy the run, but I never made it very far because the arches in my feet just killed me. So when I got to the end of my rope and I said I have to do something to get rid of the pain, and a couple people recommended the Good Feet store to me. I loved how I could go in and get a free personalized arch support fitting. They put that time, that work, that effort into helping you find the right arch supports. And you can walk around this store with these in your shoes and try them out before you purchase them. So after I got my arch supports, the arches on my feet stopped hurting and the pain instantly, literally instantly went away. So if you have pain, go. Find a Good Feet store and go. And there is an answer. Find the simple solution that will get rid of your pain. I'm Rondi, and that's my Good Feet story.
See how Good Feet arch supports work for you before you buy with a free fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit one of our 2 locations, Creve Coeur and Shiloh, Illinois, and at goodfeet.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show at 4:29 sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Want to listen to 97.1 outside the listening area? There's an app for that. Download the Odyssey app, and one tap will turn the station on. The Odyssey app for 97.1 FM Talk.
Dave Murray at 4:45. The very latest, not only on some more snow heading to St. Louis, but the fires in Los Angeles. In the next hour, coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, David Strom from hotair.com. Wait till you hear the piece that Dave wrote about the snail darter, which is something that they tried to protect in California. From destruction. Here's a slight problem. The snail darter apparently never even existed. Like, the species didn't exist. We'll talk about that coming up in the next hour. Our friend Ilya Shapiro is back with us. He's the director of constitutional studies at the Manhattan Institute. There's a couple of things happening with the Supreme Court, and then he wrote an interesting piece on masking, not the COVID type, a little different. Ilya, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well.
Let me start before I get to the masking topic, which I love. But talk about the hearing on TikTok and what's going on. Is that something going on tomorrow at the Supreme Court?
Yes, this is an expedited briefing and argument at the Supreme Court tomorrow morning starting at 10 a.m. Eastern on the constitutionality of the bill that forces the divestiture of TikTok from its Chinese parent company. And if they don't divest, then they can't operate in the U.S. And the argument challenging it is that this is a free speech violation. I support the government here, frankly.
Yeah.
I think it's a national security concern. And if an American buyer took over TikTok, it could operate in exactly the same way. So I don't think it's a free speech concern.
So is there a way to gauge how they may handle that tomorrow?
I mean, we'll see. The lower courts, with judges appointed by presidents of different parties, have all ruled for the government in favor of the constitutionality of this bipartisan legislation. But we'll see from argument. Everybody's going to be focused on as always, on the middle triumvirate of Roberts, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
So the other thing before the court, isn't Trump asking the Supremes to block the hush money sentencing from Rashawn?
He is. And unclear on what basis, because there's no presidential immunity, I don't think, involved there. They've already turned down an appeal on the substance, as far as I know. And Marshawn has indicated that he's not going to sentence Trump to even probation or anything like that. So it's going to be a nominative punishment, as it were. So I doubt the Supreme Court is going to want to get involved here.
Let's talk about your piece that was in the Free Press on masking, because this is something we've seen. I mean, if you watch some of the videos from, not this week in Los Angeles with the fires, but some of the mass looting and things that have gone on with the crazy shopping center videos that we've seen, a lot of these people are wearing masks. We've seen it here in St. Louis, and they're not wearing masks to protect themselves from COVID. They're wearing masks, Ilya, to not be identified on cameras, right?
Yeah, in this day and age, outside of a very tiny minority of people who wear masks for occupational or health or religious purposes, almost everybody who is wearing a mask is doing it for no good reason, whether they're robbing a store, intimidating people, or some other nefarious purpose to commit a crime and not be identified.
So you when you wrote about this, we've had some terrible things happen on the subways in New York. Someone was set on fire. You had the situation where a man was thrown in front of an oncoming subway train. And Ilya, I've seen some, videos and pictures of people on the subway where they're not standing close to the tracks anymore because they're afraid of something like that happening. But you quote a guy by the name of Richie Torres, who's a Democrat congressman from the Bronx, and he said this. He said, wearing a mask for the purpose of committing crimes against innocent New Yorkers or for the purpose of intimidating and harassing Jewish students on college campuses should be strictly prohibited by state law. So that's something you think would have an effect. And this is what's interesting to me. There's precedent here for banning masking, right?
Yeah, it's like more than century-old laws to go after the KKK. That the purpose of wearing a mask is to intimidate, and that's not appropriate. It's to intimidate or to conceal your identity while you're committing a crime. So I've come up with colleagues at the Manhattan Institute with model legislation that can be implemented. Different states have it. A variety of states, blue, red, north, south, east, west. New York had the oldest anti-masking law in the country, but repealed it during COVID, and there's been some hesitance to bring it back. And yet, part of the reasons why vandals and assaulters and all these people, whether with respect to the pro-Hamas protests or anything else, why they are increasingly not prosecuted is because in New York City, the prosecutors say we have a hard time finding who it is exactly because they're all masked. And not all of the masking is it's not a panacea. Pushing people in front of a subway, not all those people are masked, but it's my colleagues at the Manhattan Institute have been doing a lot of work on the kind of part and parcel of the lawlessness and disorder, and certainly an anti-masking measure would contribute to pushing back on that.
So when you would model any kind of statute or legislation like that, would it have to be very nuanced? You even admit in your piece, Ilya, you're a free speech guy, and that there would be people probably flagging something like this for infringing on free expression, right?
Well, you don't have a right to be out in public anonymously. You have a right to write anonymously using a pseudonym and things like this. But judges are very good and do all the time evaluate claims of religious objections to things for sincerity. They don't evaluate religious doctrine, but for sincerity. And so they can similarly look at these people and say, do you have a bona fide health or religious or occupational reason for wearing this mask? Or are you doing it literally for no good reason, that is to prevent identification while you are engaged in unlawful intimidation, harassment, vandalism, assault, etc.?
Would that type of situation be a municipality only, or could it be a statewide law or a federal law, or is it just something that would have to be
all of the above? So cities do have their own bylaws. I think it's one of the counties on Long Island. I forget whether it's Suffolk or Nassau passed a law this past summer and has prosecuted people with it and, stopped them and arrested them for wearing masks and found guns and knives and things like this. So it's worked there. But at the state level, lots of states have them. All of the above is the answer.
There's a lot of focus that this show has on the Free Press today. And let me just ask you, did you read the piece by, and I'm not sure if it's Margie or Margie Conklin, on the Facebook fact checkers situation?
Yes.
Yeah, it was excellent. I just kind of ran that down before the top of the hour. And, it's interesting. I'd love your perspective on that because she really explains extremely well what happened several years ago. She's a New York Post reporter who wrote about maybe a Wuhan lab leak and then all of a sudden discovered that the story was being spiked by, Facebook, et cetera. And that became alarming. And obviously states like Missouri got involved with some suits that went before the Supremes. And the free speech case on that side of the equation is pretty interesting. And I loved her column. And I loved what Mark Zuckerberg finally did, Ilya, but I think you probably realize if it was Kamala, I don't know that he would have done it, right?
That's right. I mean, CEOs respond to political wins and to the incentives that they face. So I don't think, Mark Zuckerberg in his heart of hearts really cares one way or another, frankly. He just wants to make money and gain influence and have Facebook be an important player in the cultural landscape. And he sees now that the movement is towards the non-censorship and not policing so-called misinformation and what have you. But yeah, the role of fact checkers in general, and then in the context of Facebook or social media, has been a disturbing turn in the last decade or so.
Well, in that one in particular, she points out that the expert, the so-called expert that was advising Facebook to censor the piece, was someone who had worked with researchers at Wuhan. So it wasn't that convenient. Do you, Ilya Shapiro, have any kind of connections to Los Angeles and what's happening out there? Any family or anything?
No, I mean, obviously I've been there many times and I'm due to be out there in less than a month, frankly. My hotel that I booked is in Sherman Oaks, which apparently is okay, but it's right on the edge of that area, one of those Palisades areas that's up in flames. So, I know exactly where this is all going on. I have friends around there, and it frustrates me that wildfires happen all the time. This is not a new, climate change phenomenon, and it frustrates me that lawmakers at the municipal and state level, despite legislation being passed to, top up reservoirs and change certain practices, just have been completely committing malpractice. This is a lot of the fires are not preventable, but the damage, a lot of it is.
Ilya, have a Happy New Year. We could still say Happy New Year. We went over that a couple of days ago. We think it's okay to say Happy New Year to people that we haven't spoken to all the way through the end of January, so I'm going to put that under the qualification. You have a great week and a great weekend. We'll talk again soon.
All right, you too, Mark.
All right, take care. Hey, one of the things I should have maybe asked Ilya this question because it's on the screen right now. If you look at the funeral, you'll see the gathering of Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden was there, Kamala, the first gentleman, but Trump was sitting next to Obama. And I don't even see Michelle there. I don't think that she's there. We have Mrs. Bush and Melania there. So they started talking to one another, right? And they're going back and forth, and everyone wants to know what they say. So there's been a lip reader that has gotten involved here.
Oh, really?
And this is Colin Rugg, who does some great stuff on Twitter, and Sean Spicer retweeted this too. It says, Trump told Obama, this is the best that they're coming up with, and I'm being serious. This is the analysis right now. Trump told Obama that he had to find a quiet place to speak with him regarding an urgent, quote, matter of importance, according to the New York Post. The revelation was made by forensic lip reader Jeremy Freedom. Trump, now he kind of doesn't have every word, but Trump says something like, I pulled out of that. It's the conditions. Can you imagine that? And there's a few other things that Trump says, like he says, call me at the foy, and they don't know exactly. And then I can't talk. Trump says, I can't talk. We have to find a quiet place sometime. This is a matter of importance, and we need to do this outside that we can deal with it certainly today. So I don't know what that was, but that is interesting, and we'll have to see. But they were yucking it up, having fun. Kamala kind of gave him the side eye at one point because they seemed to be having a little bit too much fun at the former president's funeral. But that was fascinating today. We're coming back with Dave Murray, the very latest on the fires, and we got more snow heading our way.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I was just posting on X. I haven't hit send yet. I'm still writing it. There is an accident northbound 170, and it's just before Airport Road. And unfortunately, this involves a school bus. No word on injuries, but the left lanes are blocked and traffic jams back just south of 70. And we're still having some issues on the roads. There was an accident southbound 270, really close to the Rock Road. That's been blocking the right side. Other than that, it's a lot of volume. And southbound 170, really slow, headed for 64. And that's from Olive. Southbound 270, slowing from Page down through Doherty Ferry. Southbound 141, really heavy and slow. South of Olive through 64, and then again approaching 44. Southbound 55 is the slow go in the construction zone, south of Arsenal through Revis Barracks. And we've got some busy traffic. There was an accident reported near 55 at 270 on one of the ramps that comes onto 55. And we also had an accident reported on Lindbergh, just a little north of 55. So take care this afternoon. 44 is in pretty good shape at 270, but there is a jam on westbound Gravois headed for 270. And westbound 64 is really slow through Chesterfield Valley. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
You know, this radio thing probably doesn't have a lot of life in it. I may apply to be, I'm going to talk to Steve Butts about this, to be an insurance adjuster, because those people are going to be busy. Just think about around here, let alone what's happened in Florida and California and beyond.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit lance.drurylaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
We all know how important nutrition is to our health, and now is the time to do something about it. With Neovitin Women's Multivitamin, you can give your body sensible doses of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to support your daily health. Created by a St. Louis physician, Neovitin Women's Multivitamin is formulated with our proprietary blend for daily support you won't find anywhere else. Best of all, you can get Neovitin Women's Multivitamin delivered right to your door with our convenient monthly subscription. Go to neovitin.com and sign up for a subscription today.
Oh, this is so much fun. For those of us who love sports, fantasy sports, and sports wagering, Underdog is now available here in Missouri. And Underdog Sports is the best place to cash in on all your takes during the NFL playoffs and beyond. Which players are going to be hot, which are going to cool off, how many touchdowns, how many yards. You can really have a lot of fun with this. They have a champs game, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money by choosing higher or lower. Now, I'm an NFL guy. You can do this with the Blues. I was kind of messing around with it with some of the games for tonight, including the Blues at home here against Anaheim. But on the NFL front, you can pick any of the playoff games, whether it's Pittsburgh and Baltimore, the Chargers at Houston. I'm a big Packers guy. They're playing Philadelphia, so you take a few of the players in that game like Saquon, Josh Jacobs. How about Josh Jacobs higher than 60 rushing yards for sure? Actually, I think it's 69.5. We're going to take Saquon. You know, I've been hot on Saquon. I've ridden him to my fantasy football championship. I'm just going to say the Packers defense is good, lower than 102 yards. And then we'll pick one other thing here. How about Jalen Hurts higher than 0.5 rush in receiving touchdowns because Jalen likes to get in there. You put your dollar wager amount in there. You can do a standard bet. You can do a flex because then on the flex bet, you can get 2 out of 3 correct and still cash. The way to do all this is to get started with the Underdog app. Download it. Get a username, I think it's your email, a password, and then use the promo code MARKR and make a deposit. They'll match you up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Underdog, the best place to play, champs. Download the app, sign up with promo code MARKR, M-A-R-K-R. Deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's the promo code MARKR, must be 18+ and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Are you worried about the state of the economy? Concerned about market crashes and rising inflation wiping out your savings? At Noble Gold Investments, we understand your fears and have a solution. Call us today at 1-888-403-1050. Imagine safeguarding you and your family with a tangible asset that has stood the test of time. Gold. With Noble Gold Investments, you can diversify your portfolio and protect your wealth from economic turmoil. Our team will guide you through the process, ensuring you make informed decisions that best suit your needs. Call Noble Gold Investments today at 1-888-403-1050. That's 1-888-403-1050. The future is uncertain. Take control now. Call 1-888-403-1050.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
The 28th Winter Warm-Up is coming to Busch Stadium and Ballpark Village January 18th through the 20th. The event features 3 days full of non-stop Cardinals family-friendly fun, including tours of the Cardinals clubhouse, admission to the world-class Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum, plus access to the Cardinals Care Store, autographs, auctions, and an exhibit hall full of sports memorabilia and more. Tickets are on sale now. Proceeds benefit Cardinals Care and its mission to care for kids in the community. Find more details at cardinals.com/WWU.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. If you want immediate cash for your home or to see what your home is actually worth in today's market, find out for free from the local experts. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Jim Talent. They're absolutely desperate to be able to say that Donald Trump has been actually convicted of a crime.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk. Mark Reardon on St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
Well, we have Dave Murray, who's become a regular part of the show this week because of the fires in California, back with us this afternoon. Dave, hello on this Thursday. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Let's start with our snow, just because the roads around here are still bad. I mentioned I drove on Olive last night, Dave, and you would have thought that they hadn't had one plow on that damn road. It really has been troubling here. So now we got more on the way, right?
We have another one. It's nothing like the one that we're coming out of, because the other one was sleet and snow, and that's what made it so hard to move, and still making it hard to move. This is going to be a little bit of a dry snow, not quite like a Rocky Mountain snow, but close, drier than we typically see. So, as a result, the amounts are creeping up a little bit on us, but the prime time is going to be from about 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning on Friday up until about noontime. It's kind of in and out pretty quickly. I still like an overall brush of 1 to 2, but we're probably looking at closer to the 2 inches. And then you get across southeast Missouri and southern Illinois, and the amounts could be 5 or 6 inches there, but also a dry snow.
I feel like we did maybe make a little progress today just because it was sunny, and it's not sunny anymore. The sun's about to go down, but it was warm, and I think the ice got a little mushy and was able to clear for some of the crews out there just in time. So maybe we got a little lucky today.
Right, and we're going to see temperatures get above freezing over the weekend, especially on Sunday, and that will help. But this, roads that have been cleared, this will be a snow that will be really easy to handle. And it's all snow, so if they get out and pre-treat a little bit, it becomes even easier to handle. But you never know. You never know if they're going to pre-treat a road or not.
So, Dave, as you're talking, Sue points up to the television. Every time we look at the screen and we see more devastation. Look, 24 hours ago when we talked, we knew it was bad. But then this morning I started seeing the overhead shots of Palisades and just gone. You see Malibu, some of these homes on the ocean, just gone. We see more images this afternoon, these fires still kicking up. So this isn't quite over, is it?
No, the two big fires, the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire, are still 0% contained.
the winds are still, as far as across L.A. County, the winds are still strong. They're not like they've been over the last 48 hours or so, but they're still in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. So they're still driving. In most circumstances, the winds that caused all these fires, that sparked all these fires, it was a critical Santa Ana event. Everybody knew it was coming. You can't do much about it, but everybody knew it was coming. This now, the day later, would be considered a light to moderate Santa Ana, but because the fires are already burning and they're 0% contained, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's light or moderate. They're still going to be blowing. And, yeah, the video, they were able to get the news choppers up and some of the surveys crews up because the winds were a little bit lighter today and continue to be a little bit lighter. And it's just, it just brings back Maui right away.
Well, for me, we talked about this, Dave.
that.
You know what I thought about when I saw Pacific Palisades is I thought about Joplin in the F5 because it times 20, maybe times 20, right?
Yeah, and it's, at least with even, I know people died in the Joplin thing, and I think the death toll's up to 5 here. The one good news is that there was warning. You didn't have a lot of warning, but you knew that this event was going to happen. And if a fire got going, it was going to cause a lot of problems and continues to cause a lot of problems. But it is, just like Maui, it's going to take 20 years to rebuild some of these areas.
And, Dave, I was talking about this. There's so many things that are at play here. You can't breathe if you're outside. Maybe people, even if your house isn't burned down, you might not have power. You might not have water. You got kids that won't have school. They're going to be confused. Sue and I always think about the pets and the animals and the deer. I don't know how you even begin to have an adjuster to come in and, make a call and handicap some of the insurance issues. And you can speak to this as well. Now there's more vegetation that's been burned off, so that means when it does rain, mudslides.
Right. Yeah. That all depends on terrain. But one of the reasons this has been such a brutal fire is that we're coming off of 3 very wet winters, so the vegetation was pretty intense. A lot of new growth, and now that we haven't had rain in about 8 months or so, that new vegetation is drying out, and so it becomes an instant spark.
Hey, Dave, I'm going to go back to our snow event tomorrow.
I figured you would.
Oh, that's okay. That's important.
Because essentially you're saying it's morning rush hour, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, again, it's like 4 or 5 a.m. up until about noontime. And that puts the rush hour right in the middle of it.
Okay, but if it's the dry stuff, if a road is already treated, does it just kind of blow around, or is it the kind that we're getting enough that it actually will accumulate on a highway?
I think there'll be some accumulation. There'll be slick roads. It's not a real windy type situation with this thing until the storm gets by, and it's pretty far south. So I'm not overly concerned about wind, but it's. So better than anybody else that sometimes a snow like this, a 2-inch snow, can just cause havoc.
It can.
In St. Louis. People get confident saying, this is fine. This is nothing. This is nothing like the last snow, and then everything gets gridlocked.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm wondering if they're going to call school, Mark. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think they will because it's going to happen overnight. So I think they would have to, and I hope that they clear the fair
snowing. Yeah, when those decisions have to be made, it will be snowing.
Yeah,
and so you're coming off the latest storm, and a lot of these schools do build a few days in. It's not like they're going to push the year. There's usually 4 or 5 days built in, so it's like, you know what? It's Friday. Let's just call it.
Yeah, but it was Friday. It was also Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, barely back today. Yeah. I offered. I have at least a little texting arrangement, an email with the principal of our school, Dr. Starnes, and I said, hey, my offer to her yesterday was, hey, if you're going to be off school, would you mind just taking my daughter for a few days off of my hands because she'd love to hang out with you. All right, Dave Murray, we'll see what tonight brings us, right?
You got it. And tomorrow morning.
All right, we'll talk.
Thanks,
Good luck,
Dave.
Sue.
See you
Thank
later.
you,
yeah,
Dave.
we'll see what happens. That's Man, there's just all kinds of stuff happening, right?
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. Usually we get the big snow, and then it melts, and then we get the next one. A double up, I'm not in the mood for.
Well, and I don't want to go too easy because I think there's some serious questions about MoDOT and the way that some of this is handled, especially after being on Olive last night and hearing some of the things in Chesterfield. However, one thing that I will say, and I think a microcosm of all the things on the roads is really our own driveways. Now, you don't have a driveway because you live in the city, but the streets are the same way. Right.
Yeah.
So you can't really plow through because there's so much ice, and there's nowhere to put it, even if you have a plow that goes through there. So I get that this is a little unique because the snow piled up so high and it wasn't melting. That makes it more challenging. But yeah, it'll take an inch and a half tomorrow. We'll be paralyzed again. That's my anticipation. We'll see. You might have Alexa Reardon doing Sue's News with you tomorrow, Sue. That my anticipation. She might be a roundtable panelist, too. We're coming back after 5.
Take a little trip, take a little trip, take a little trip and see. Take a little trip.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's nice to hear the actual song of that's in that commercial. All right, there is a stall, or there was, westbound 255 past Lindbergh. It looks like they just got that out of the way. It was on the right-hand side. There was a stall reported westbound 6440 just before Maryville Center. Watch for that one in the right lane. And let's see, the accident southbound 270 at the Rock Road is blocking the right lane. And we also have the accident northbound 170 approaching Airport Road. This one involving a school bus, and they've got the 2 left lanes blocked there. And, of course, there's a jam behind it, and it goes back past Natural Bridge. What is a parking lot is southbound 141, and this is approaching Olive down through 64. Olive is jammed again. It's just not in good shape.
It's unbelievable.
And it's really slow again, Mark. And it's just east of 170 out through 141.
That's where I was last night.
Yep.
Bad.
And westbound 64 is a slow go. It's Kings Highway out through McCausland, Lindbergh out through 270, but pretty heavy through Chesterfield Valley. The rest of it was moderate. Westbound 70 slowing approaching the airport, and southbound 55 slow pockets in the construction zone. 44 jams westbound in front of the arch, but just moderate volume headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I played pickleball last night, and I might be on injured reserve. We'll have to see. That might put me behind in the MAC racquetball league that I'm in again. But I want to talk about the West location in particular. I love the MAC. We have the awesome downtown location with all that history. I hang out a little bit west at 270 in Manchester, and they have some really cool stuff. And we may have to take advantage of this weekend because the second Saturday of the month, which happens to be this Saturday, they do a really cool thing for dining, breakfast for dinner. So you can go the second Saturday of the month. I think it's just in January, where you can enjoy a delicious breakfast for dinner. The first Saturday of the month is a prime rib dinner, and every night actually they have theme nights. So tonight at the West Clubhouse is steak and potato night. Last night was New York style pizza. Tuesday was Rita and fajitas, and then burger night on Monday. They're always keeping it fun, and there's so many activities that are coming up at the MAC just in the next week or so. The new member Mix and Mingle is coming up on Saturday. There's a great ladies' coffee next week at the Clubhouse out west, and a gourmet dinner downtown a week from Friday. You can always find out more at mac-stl.org today for the Missouri Athletic Club.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, organic, free-range, and pasture-raised. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Do you want to kickstart planning for your retirement this year? Well, I know a quick and easy way to do it. It's a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Kind of like getting the Cliff Notes on how you could make your money go a lot further in retirement. Hey guys, it's Dave Glover from KMOX. It's never too early. It's never too late to get control over your finances and your financial future. You can do it with a one-night class taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects with decades of financial planning experience. They're held at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You're going to learn about tax saving strategies, IRA and 401k withdrawals, Roth conversions, Social Security, and more. There's no cost. All you have to do is bring 3 canned goods for the St. Louis Crisis Nursery. There's still openings for this month's classes and next. So call 314-350-8110. 314-350-8110. That's my personal Dave Glover KMOX number, 314-350-8110 for Financial and Tax Architects.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The damage apocalyptic. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. 6 people now confirmed dead in the California wildfires. The body of the latest victim recovered in Malibu. Firefighters have made some progress in slowing the spread of some of the biggest fires that incinerated the Pacific Palisades to Altadena.
A thick blanket of smoke and haze in the sky. The area we're in right now has been blocked off from the public. Police say you should have a legal or righteous reason to be in here. Otherwise, they are trying to prevent looting, trying to prevent looky-loos, although there are some.
Fox's Matt Finn in Altadena. President Biden has announced the federal government will cover 100% of the recovery costs of the response to the fire for 180 days.
It's going to pay for things like debris and hazard material removal, temporary shelters, first responders' salaries, and all necessary measures to protect life and property.
The president saying he'll send more federal resources, including 400 additional federal firefighters, firefighting helicopters and planes, and C-130 military planes that are equipped to fight fires. The nation says goodbye to the 39th president.
President Biden delivered a eulogy at the funeral for former President Jimmy Carter at the Washington National Cathedral, attended by every living man to hold the office. But Carter's grandson, Jason Carter, says his grandfather was influenced his whole life by the small town where he grew up.
Yes, they spent 4 years in the governor's mansion and 4 years at the White House, but the other 92 years they spent at home in Plains, Georgia.
Carter died on December 29th at the age of 100. He was the longest living ex-president in U.S. history.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. America is listening to Fox News.
So this new dose is, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AB.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Lots of clouds and kind of cold, right around 30 degrees for evening plans. All is dry, but a light snow developing toward morning, and we'll go down to 25 degrees. Friday morning snow, it's all snow, otherwise a cloudy day, 32. By about midday on Friday, we should see 1 to 2 inches. The problem is it's just in time for the Friday morning rush. That's going to cause some problems. Friday night, cloudy skies, some snow flurries, and 20. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Thinking of buying a new home? Think TR Hughes. TR Hughes Homes has great prices on beautiful new homes at 4 desirable locations. Charlestown Landing in North St. Charles, convenient to Highway 370. The Grove at Riverdale and St. Paul with standard 4-car garages, just 10 minutes from the St. Peter's Dearborns. Arbor Valley and Wentzville on Highway N with minimum half-acre wooded lots. And our newest community, Elkhorn Ridge in Truesdale, just west of Wright City, minutes from Highway 70. Come and see why TR Hughes is St. Charles and now Warren County's premier home builder. trhughes.com.
Greg Hammonds at greghammonds.com wants to remind you that if you pay for your own health insurance, open enrollment ends January 15th. If you are looking for coverage, do not go online looking for quotes. You'll get endless calls from call centers and they will not stop. Instead, call Greg, an expert with over 40 years experience, and he can provide sound advice for your health insurance needs. Their plans, if you qualify, let you pick your doctors, and it's 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. The monthly premiums are independent of your income, so there will be no surprise tax bills. If you pay for your own health insurance, own a small business, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. They will custom design a plan managed by you, not the government.
That's my Greek music, and we're going to take listeners to Greece on a 97.1 FM Talk tour in April and May, and it's going to be fantastic. And we only have 2 spots open up. I had 1 cabin left a couple of weeks ago, and then Mike Kenny, my tour guide, got 1 more added. This is a very, very intimate trip. It's a small ship cruise touring the Greek islands. We leave on April 27th from here in St. Louis, and then we head to Athens, and that first morning on that Monday, we leave on a Sunday. You get going and start touring around Athens. Mike is exceptional. I've traveled with him 2 times now. We went to Italy in 2011 with a group of people, and then we went to Spain a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now. Some of the folks that were on the Spain trip are going to Greece. We have an awesome group. It's going to be magical, so much fun. We're going to focus on, some adult beverages and food and history and just relaxing and having a great time. It's a perfect time of year to be in Greece. It's not going to be too hot. So if you want information on the trip, I'd love for you to get signed up today. Go to the top of my Twitter site, at Mark Reardon KFTK. I've pinned the details of the tweet, or of the trip, rather. Or go to definedestinations.com. Just click on the one that says Greece Small Ship Cruise. Get signed up. Come with us to Greece in 2025.
This new dose is... nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
97.1 FM Talk presents Talk in Action, where we shine a spotlight on local charities making a difference in our community. Join us as we give back and connect neighbors in need. Visit 971talk.com/talkinaction to learn more.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
Sue, I mentioned this in the monologue. I saw this on the X, formerly Twitter. There is a, Pride, the magazine. There's a magazine called Pride. I'm sure you probably subscribe to that. But if you don't, they have a Twitter site, too. And they actually have a story up there with the headline, Amid Palisades Fire, because, of course, the fire chief and many of the officials in Los Angeles Fire Department are part of the Alphabet Mafia. So the headline was, Amid Palisades Fire, Los Angeles' first LGBTQ+, sorry, I'm losing track of the alphabet there, is proving lesbians get it done. That's like a new headline. That's from
Oh.
yesterday. Are you kidding me?
Good grief.
David Strom from hotair.com is back with us from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where he's probably freezing more than we are. But you wrote about that this afternoon. I mean, you can't even make that up, can you, David?
I know. Well, what's hilarious is they never actually talk about what she's doing to put the fires out. It doesn't even come up. It's really, it's a perfect encapsulation of what the alphabet mafia thinks like. Because, it's all about DEI and how wonderful it is and how historic. And look, she's in charge during this disaster. And the fact that the fires were 0% contained was irrelevant.
Yeah.
Absolutely irrelevant to them.
Well, and look, a lot of people are jumping on this, and I think it's appropriate. When you have a department out there that has repeatedly focused on, diversity, the first female lesbian fire chief, the goal of recruiting more women and gay firefighters, how about people that are just qualified to do the job and want the job, but that's not something they wanted to do, and then they wanted to cut the budget by, I guess, $18 million as well?
Oh, yeah, and in fact, I just found a new video from the assistant fire chief, who is this enormous African-American woman. And she's talking about how people need to see themselves reflected in the firefighters and how important it is. And then but then she's asked, well, what about, being able to carry a guy out of a burning building? And her answer was, well, he was in the wrong place.
What?
Yes, literally she says that. I mean, it's just one of the most stunning things. I mean, it's like, oh, I'm out there to show everybody that I'm just like them.
Oh, wait a second.
It's
I'm going to have to get that. Okay, I'm going to send that to Ethan because I had not seen that or heard that audio. So we're going to keep talking here. And before we wrap up, I'm going to have that audio because that's really something. Oh, my goodness. Now, I want you to share, I think, my favorite post, David, from the past couple of days, and there's been a lot of activity. Obviously, you've been writing about different things relating to politics and California. But I want you to share with the audience, because I teased this a couple hours ago, the story of the snail darter. This is unbelievable. It really is. Like, I had to read this thing a couple of times because now we think that this whole thing is maybe made up.
It's absolutely made up. The New York Times talked to the ichthyologist, who is a fish specialist at the New York Museum of Natural History about the snail darter. And he said, well, it's just actually, one of a bunch of perches that are out there, and it's not even a separate species. It's had maybe different coloration or something like that, but, it was supposedly discovered almost simultaneously with the passage of the Environmental Protection Agency. And there were people opposed to the building of the Tellico Dam, which is being built by the Tennessee Valley Authority. And so they latched onto this, called it a new species, and then it became a protected species. And so, he looked into this and he said, well, that's not a new species at all. I mean, it's just another perch. And you could call it whatever you want, but it's just another kind of perch. I mean, it is as much a new species as, a Asian is from a human being. We're all human beings. We look a little bit different, but there's no fundamental genetic difference between us that actually matters.
Okay, but let me hang on. I'm going to slow down and kind of supplement what you're doing here because this is really amazing. So under the protections, the snail darter, which now never even existed, we'll get to that, was listed as protected and triggered Section 7 of the Act, barring federal agencies from undertaking actions that could jeopardize a species' survival or destroy any of its critical habitats. So they go on and they file lawsuits over this because they actually quote, a decision from 1978 where Warren Berger says that the findings of this previously unknown species of perch changed everything on a legal level. Well, then you have the modern-day scientist, this guy Thomas Sneer, that comes out and says there is actually no technical snail darter, right? And worse yet, it's actually just another member of the eastern population of Percina uranidia, or stargazing darters, which is not considered endangered. So all of this for naught.
Well, it wasn't for naught. As I pointed out, it's just another version of lawfare that the left uses all the time. They invent things, use the courts, push some sort of fiction, use the courts to get what they want. I mean, it's just sort of a version of what they did to Trump, in New York. They completely invent something out of thin air, and they're able, through an activist court system, to impose what you and I would think is illegitimately the solution that they want. And, if you think about it, I mean, this is the same thing as changing, what gender and sex means. And, they do this all the time. They redefine words. They say the words are what we say they are, just as they completely redefine the species. But it's the same thing as, how is that different than saying that there's such a thing as non-binary or transgender or whatever?
Right. No, it plays. That's the same.
Embedded.
It's the same playbook, and I'm glad that you pointed that out. And by the way, in the Telco case, the dam was eventually built, and then they took the snail darter that never existed off of the list of species. But that's just an amazing story. And then you write about that on hotair.com. How many people can actually write about that and show the truth of what happened here with the snail darter? I know Jonathan Turley was out there tweeting about it, but it is fascinating. Hey, I have the all right, let's listen. This is Kristen Larson, and you said she's the assistant chief? I got to hear this. Here we go, David.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
What? I thought they're supposed to save people. I thought life and safety was their priority, but apparently not.
It really is. But I mean, if you think about it, this is exactly the priority set that the left has. I mean, it just says, if you look, they cut $18 million out of the fire department, and they put it into things like a gay men's choir and DEI training. I mean, that's literally what they did. They took it out of basic services and they put it into ideological BS. And that's how they think. That's what they think is important. If a white man dies in a fire, he was in the wrong place. Doesn't he understand we need to have a gay men's choir?
You can't make it up. And it's just, all of this is kind of coming home. The chickens are coming home to roost. If you will. Now, I got to share this on the topic of the fires. I played a little of this earlier. This is amazing when you think about it. Joe Rogan on his podcast months ago talking about the possibility of something like this happening.
I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons that freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind and fire's going to start in the right place and it's going to burn through L.A. all the way to the ocean. And there's not a thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through L.A. and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it. Because these fires are so big, dude. When they're talking about like thousands of acres that are burning simultaneously with like 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, and now we got 99-mile-an-hour winds. So, but that's an interesting situation. So everybody knew that this was possible. I don't know about everybody, but certainly officials had to know because of the wind situation that you would have, more severe fires. But this question of resources, and where Gavin Newsom put them and where Karen Bass put them, David, it's going to be interesting to see as these people try to rebuild what the messaging will be there.
Well, I mean, that's absolutely true. And actually, I wrote about this. Donald Trump spent 7 minutes when he was sitting down talking to Joe Rogan about exactly this issue.
Yep, that's right. I played some of that audio yesterday. Yeah.
It's just shocking. And so Donald Trump, who's not even trying to get the electoral votes of California because he'll never get them, is still more worried about what's going to happen in California than the people who run the state.
Yep.
It's just amazing. You cannot overestimate the stupidity and corruption of the left.
I just wonder if the people of California, who, by the way, voted to overturn that nonsense that, decriminalized stealing anything under $900, I just wonder if the people of California, after this election, after that nonsense, are finally going to be onto these jokers.
Well, if you look, everything east of the coast has gone red. And even some of those coastal cities moved rightward. The real electoral problem that I think they have in these cities, not necessarily in the state, but in these cities, is that the public employees unions, they're so large that probably 30 to 40% of the vote that's actually for mayor and city council, those are public employees who are voting for their own benefit.
Yep. I think you're right about that.
So it's going to be very hard to overturn San Francisco, L.A., although L.A., there's real possibility because they almost got Caruso for mayor last time around.
Well, and he seems to be campaigning already because he's been very critical of the administration and what's happening this week. David Strom from hotair.com is here. You're up in Minneapolis, in the Minneapolis area. I've highlighted this just a little bit. Liz Collin has been a guest on my show, and I've recommended the fall of Minneapolis to my audience many, many times. But there's some interesting Derek Chauvin news this week, David. I want you to highlight that for my audience.
Oh, this is very important, and it's something that if you had watched the fall of Minneapolis, you already knew. But Minneapolis police officials at the highest levels committed perjury in court. They just simply lied. And now there are over a dozen Minneapolis police officers who have signed affidavits that are part of the appeal for Chauvin, just laying it on the line. And you could even see photographs of the training where the technique that Chauvin used was trained. And they said that wasn't the case. There's even a photograph of the deputy chief who testified using that technique to arrest someone. And so she went in front of the court and said, we never trained this. And there she is in a photograph using the technique.
Wow.
And you have 14 current and former officers with the Minneapolis Police Department have signed sworn declarations that they say they believe that Assistant Chief Katie Blackwell lied, perjured herself when testifying.
Absolutely. And there's a very simple reason for this. Outside that courtroom, there were hundreds of protesters every day screaming, no justice, no peace. They made it very clear that they were ready to riot again. And so they basically threw Chauvin to the wolves. And for those of us who are following the trial very closely, as I did because I live here, it was obvious that they were going to do this. And it wasn't just to Chauvin. There were four officers.
Right. But, David, all you have to do, this is what I tell people all the time, watch the first 5 to 10 minutes of the fall of Minneapolis, and you're going to have a completely different perspective on what happened.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the original autopsy, didn't even say that he died by homicide. That was changed afterwards. The coroner says there was no political pressure, but obviously there was political pressure. I mean, George Floyd had, fatal levels of methamphetamines and fatal levels of fentanyl in his system, and he did that because he swallowed his drug stash when the police confronted him.
And in the moment they confront him, by the way, even when he's still in the convenience store, this is amazing that this was never really shown, because the legacy media could have shown this video easily, but they never did, where he starts saying, I can't breathe, well before he's on that curb with Chauvin.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, it was a technique that he used. He did. There's video of him in two other encounters with the police saying exactly the same thing. And so, the panic, the I can't breathe, all of that was a calculated technique. And we know that. I mean, it's not, difficult to see this because you see him using it multiple times because there's, of course, body cam video from all his police interactions because he had a lot of interactions with police. And, that is how he manipulated police officers.
But is there a realistic chance, though, that with all of this that's coming out now that he may be, I mean, I don't even know what the end goal is. Is it a new trial? Is it, some sort of, I don't know. What's the end goal here? Possibility legally.
I haven't followed the legal side of this over the past couple of years, so I don't know. I mean, the big problem he has is he was convicted on federal civil rights charges, but the big conviction was at the state level. And the attorney general, Keith Ellison, who was a member of Antifa, personally prosecuted him, and he's still the attorney general. And so obviously he's going to fight like mad and use every bit of power that he has to keep Chauvin in jail. And if there is a successful appeal, that would probably just mean a retrial. And I don't know how that would turn out, but it's in Minneapolis, which is not a good place.
Hey, did I also see, and again, I've had Liz Collin on the show many times, and she's great. Is she being sued by Katie Blackwell, who was the assistant chief?
Yes.
For what?
Yes. Well, for defamation.
Okay.
Which is, quite the stretch. And that is actually one of the places all this new stuff came out because they were responding to the lawsuit, and it was just bombshell after bombshell after bombshell.
And Liz took her camera and she chased down that Katie Blackwell, and basically she's not worried about any lawsuit. She's chasing down that assistant chief saying, hey, do you have any comment here about this stuff about people lying and that you lied?
Yeah. Well, Liz Collins is great. And, she's one of the refugees from the so-called mainstream media. She used to work for a broadcast station here.
Right.
And like many, reporters out there who just got sick of the lies and the propaganda, she's now in exile.
Yeah.
She's sort of in the Barry Weiss camp, the independent people, Catherine Herridge, people like that who actually want to be journalists.
Yeah.
And
well, I think that space is growing,
and
she is good at it, and that space is growing a little bit too. And one of the reasons I like Hot Air, because you guys do a lot of that too. David Strom, Happy New Year to you. Great to hook up with you. We'll talk soon.
All right. Great talking to you.
Take care.
Follow Mark on Twitter at Mark Reardon KFTK and Instagram at Mark Talk. This is the Mark Reardon Show. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
MoDOT reporting a stall northbound 270 past Dorset. Watch for that on the right side. And a stall northbound 170 approaching the Forest Park Parkway. That in the right lane. And another one at Airport Road on the left shoulder. And we've got a jam on southbound 270 from Page down through, looks like Doherty Ferry now. Plenty of volume westbound 6440. And this is approaching the Kings Highway area. Well, we'll call it approaching Hampton now. Approaching Hampton out through McCausland, slowing again as you approach that 270 jam. 141 is not in good shape and is a parking lot anywhere from Olive through 64. And Olive is jammed again tonight. Road conditions there have not been good for days. And it's slowing now east of 170 all the way out through 141. And that 141 jam approaching 40 is unbelievable. Now, we also have volume, but it's just the usual on southbound 55. So right there at Revis Barracks, northbound is slow, headed toward Lindbergh, where we had an earlier incident. If you're headed into Illinois, things look fine on the bridges downtown. Some moderate volume out west here and there on 64, 40, and 70. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan of McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
Hey, we've had a little bit of a change in the law, and Missouri sports fans, Underdog Fantasy is now available to play in Missouri. It's the best place to cash in on all your takes, whether it's the NHL season, the NBA, or the NFL playoffs. They have 5 million plus happy players and 2 billion won, and I'm one of them right now. And here's how you get started. With the Champs game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money by choosing on the stat line higher or lower touchdowns, yards, interceptions. So if you think, Jalen Hurts is going to rack up more than a couple of touchdowns, or Saquon Barkley is going to get lower than 100 yards in rushing, those are some of the options. And you can mix a couple from the NFL in with the NHL, create some really, really fire entries for a shot to win real money and prizes all throughout the sports season and the playoffs. The way to get started is by downloading the app. It's Underdog Sports. There's a yellow color to the app, just so you know it's the right one. It's the best play to play Champs, the best place. Download the app, sign up with the promo code MarkR. So you got a username, that's your email, pick a password. Make sure it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that, a little bit more complicated. And the code is MarkR, M-A-R-K-R. Deposit now. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. The promo code is MarkR. You want to do this before this weekend because there's a lot of fun with sports. If you do it before 7 o'clock, you can do something with the Blues even tonight. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
You're leaving for work, but the garage door won't open. Is it the opener? Is the spring broken? Now you're late and your car is trapped. Well, don't panic. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is here with same-day emergency service. They won't leave you stuck. The original Red Ribbon Garage Door Company, trusted in St. Louis since 1926. Call 314-781-5200 or schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Lifestyles Unlimited member Lisa appreciates having mentors who have her back.
Having the faith to move forward, and y'all have everything provided. I could call a mentor and say, hey, I don't know what to do. Someone is always there to guide you. I have backup.
Lifestyles Unlimited. Over 33 years teaching the real estate retirement roadmap. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join now for $297, a 60% savings. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
You've got thoughts. Did you know you also have a microphone? Listen to 97.1 on the Odyssey app and click the microphone to leave a voice message. Whatever's on your mind, let us know by clicking the microphone in the Odyssey app.
Hey, here's some good news, Sue. Tomorrow is Friday. Despite more snow in the forecast, the weekend is just about here. We got a Reardon Roundtable tomorrow. We've got a great panel set up. Jane will be here. A lot of stuff to talk about, not only the fires and what's happening nationally. We have, obviously, some interesting things in Washington, but then our story about the mayor here, Tish. And Kim Gardner's in the news. Sam Page is in the news. It's going to be a good roundtable. Jane, State Rep Steve Butch, and former St. Louis County Councilman and St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch all here. Plus, Cusimano with sports at 4:45. There's a new documentary out that's fantastic. It's on Netflix. It's called Norman's Rare Guitars, about this little guitar shop in L.A. And David Dillmore, who's the director, that's going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour tomorrow. I saw this guy, our next guest, on Fox last night, doing a great job, as he always does. Steve Milloy, former Trump-Pence EPA transition team member, founder of junkscience.com. You're having to straighten a lot of people out here this week with the climate change nonsense. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm
Happy
good.
New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to you. So here we are, already in just amazing devastation. We've been talking about this the last few days, and we've had one of our contributors who's a native here in St. Louis, Brian Ping, who's on KNX in Los Angeles, and Dave Murray, our meteorologist, lives out there in Laguna Beach. So the devastation, Steve, we've never seen really anything like this, but immediately they go to climate change, right?
Well, yeah, I think climate change is the go-to camouflage for, government screw-up, particularly Democrat government screw-up. You remember that in August 2023 we had horrific wildfires just blow through Maui, and the first thing the government did was blame climate change. And when it was really the government's fault for not warning people, not being prepared. And guess what? That same thing happened again. The government failed to warn people, warn them well enough, and then when they came to fight the fires, there was no water in the fire hydrants. Of course, the brush is overgrown because in California you can't clean up brush, and it's just a total man-made disaster.
So when I have this secret hope, and there's a lot of things that they need to settle, and people are, homeless and all those things. But in the end here, I'm almost wondering if this is not a real opportunity for a conversation about how much they screwed up. Gavin Newsom, whether it's him or Karen Bass or the federal government with this nonsense. Look, we pointed this out in the previous segment. Trump was just on Joe Rogan's podcast a couple of months ago, essentially predicting some of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I've been asked that question a couple times today already. And I think the answer is no, they're not going to learn anything. California, in recent years, has had huge wildfires, and they're all basically caused for the same reason, just land management neglect. They know this stuff's going to happen. They've allowed it to happen, and then they don't learn anything from it. So I think even though all these people that lived in Pacific Palisades are all rich, liberal Democrats, they fund all these campaigns for Democrats. Have they learned anything? Are they going to vote out Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom? No, I think they're going to keep them. And of course, the federal taxpayer is going to have to come in and bail these people out. Of course, we can't really afford to do that anymore. We can't bail out millionaires in their homes. I mean, this is just crazy.
Well, and I do think that some of that is going to be at play, right? What do you know about one of the things I saw today? Maybe this was from you, Steve, because I follow you and I retweet some of your stuff. But in 2014, they voted on something out there called Proposition 1, which directed billions and billions of dollars for infrastructure for water storage and reservoirs. And they haven't built one of those things in 10 years, 11 years?
Yeah, so 10 years ago, there was a referendum, and voters said, we want more water storage, and they ponied up the money for it, but Gavin Newsom hasn't built any of it. And, of course, this piggybacks on the fact that, California flushes 100 billion gallons of water into the Pacific Ocean every year to save the Delta smelt versus sending it south to not only the San Joaquin Valley for agriculture, but also to cities in Southern California because they need water. Then you have the situation where the water tanks around the Palisades were very small 3 million gallon tanks. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. They have no ability to take water out of the ocean to put fires out. It's just the whole thing is just this government catastrophe. I mean, can you imagine living in the Palisades thinking that, I've got a fire hydrant in front of my house, I'm going to be okay? No,
Yeah.
these people trusted the government. The government let them down again. And this is just like it was in Hawaii. And no one in the government has been held responsible for what happened in Maui. It's not gonna, again, it's not going to happen. Democrats will just vote for the same people.
Yeah, and then, at the same time all this is happening, you already have people, and I know that you tweeted this out, like Philip Bump and some of these idiots from the Washington Post and beyond, already writing columns about how with Trump back in, his, archaic climate politics return. This is where I kind of go back to my question about the common sense, because I think people in the election are kind of onto a lot of this stuff, and maybe Trump is the right person to really explain to the American people how many mistakes we've made along these lines. Because a lot of people, Steve, they don't know. They don't, they're people that aren't paying attention to the news and following shows like this or follow you on Twitter. So a lot of people are just in the dark about it.
So as you know, I follow this stuff pretty closely. It's my sense now that the wheels are coming off this climate hoax. And it's one of the reasons that President Trump feels so free. He basically campaigned on climate being a hoax. Anytime it came up, that's what he would say. And these guys like Bump in the Washington Post, saying that this is Trump's policy. What's he talking about? Trump doesn't cause the Santa Ana winds. Trump doesn't cause brush not to be cleaned up. Whatever the spark was, Trump didn't cause that. I mean, it's crazy stuff. Yeah, and I've seen all kinds of nutty stuff from the left today. This climate thing it's in its last throes. I think Trump is going to drive the stake through its heart, and then we can move on.
Steve, one of the things that I've heard people say, and I saw you correct a couple, there have been people saying that, one of the things that's really bad about this is that these wildfires are, throwing all these emissions into the air, even worse than some of the CO2 from cars, et cetera. But you're saying that's not true, right?
Are you talking about the conventional emissions, like particulate stuff like that? Oh, yeah, the air quality stuff. Yeah, the air quality is ugly, no question about that, but it's not a health risk. And I'm not talking about people who are, who are getting smoke inhalation. Okay, that's bad.
Yeah.
But just, the stuff that's in the air, the chemicals, the trace levels of chemicals in the air and the particulate matter, none of that stuff is going to hurt anybody. That's just basic air quality. I've got a whole book on this called Scare Pollution. Everyone likes to be afraid of toxics in the air, but of course the stuff's not toxic. There's going to be no asthma. No one's going to die. Nothing is going to happen from all this stuff.
One of the things, before I let you go, I want to guide people in. If you don't follow Steve, it's at Junk Science. And there was this satellite video that you posted yesterday on the X, formerly Twitter, that basically, it's just kind of amazing. It shows the winds. It looks like somebody drew this, as a cartoon, but it shows the fires. You can kind of see them burning and the winds blowing all the smoke out to the ocean. And that's incredible. We're going to see a lot of probably before and after pictures from satellites as well, but that really put things into perspective, how powerful this was.
Well, yeah, I mean, the winds are constantly changing, right? I mean, so it blows the fire all over the place, but for that one satellite picture, I thought it was really interesting, just blowing all the smoke out to the ocean. And you could see how strong the wind was. It was really interesting. It was a video from NOAA satellite.
It's incredible. It really is. But I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of things that I've thought have been incredible, not in all good ways, because this devastation is something else. Steve Milloy, thank you so much. Keep on him, Steve.
Mark.
All right.
Thanks,
take care. We got audio cut of the day coming up here in just a couple of minutes on 97.1 FM Talk. I'm going to squeeze one more guest in, too, because there's a CNN defamation trial that's not getting a lot of attention, but it's a big one. And a Free Beacon reporter named Jessica Costescu is going to join us next.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Couple of stalls out there this afternoon. One is southbound 270 approaching 55. Another one is northbound 170 approaching the Forest Park Parkway. This one is blocking the right lane, and we have a parking lot jam that goes back through 6440. Also a slow go is southbound 170, and that's from Olive down past the Forest Park Parkway. We have a repeat performance on Olive tonight. Just really heavy traffic, not great conditions between 141 and just east of the Inner Belt. And we've got volume on Lindbergh as well. Southbound 270, just a parking lot from Page down through 40, but slow-moving traffic that continues down through Doherty Ferry and a little bit slow at Gravois and then approaching the accident to the south. Now, if you're westbound on 64, it's a slow go. Hampton out through McCausland, and especially from Lindbergh out through 270. Southbound 141 is a parking lot, and that's from Olive down through 64. We've got an accident reported now eastbound 70 approaching the Blanchette Bridge. Look for slow-moving traffic there as well. Now, we look good headed into Illinois on the bridges downtown. Westbound 44, though, jams in front of the Arch. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is a real busy time of year for our friend Susan L. Ward at the law offices of STLFamilyLaw.com. She's a family practice attorney, and the month of January is arguably her busiest because people get through the holidays, then they make decisions. Well, they probably made decisions before the holidays. They get through with their families, and then they call Susan. And you should call Susan if you have any needs in this particular area. She's been doing this for more than 2 decades. She has a great team with multiple locations. She's rated AV preeminent by Martindale-Hubbell. That's the highest peer rating that any attorney can receive. It shows that a lawyer has reached the height of professional excellence, and Susan gets that rating from her peers, and she's the youngest family law attorney in Missouri to be awarded that AV rating. If you need their help, they're there for you here in St. Louis. You can always call or just contact them on the website, confidential contact form. The number, though, 314-783-9400. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
Hey, it's Annie and Stewie here talking about the market right now for buying a home. If you've been thinking about relocating and you're not sure if the season is right now to go buy, Stewie, you've got something to say about that.
You know what, Annie? This is the season. Be smart. Traditionally, the wintertime is when it's slower for sellers. They're more apt to give you a better price. Take advantage now. Now, here's what's going to happen if you wait. You wait till spring. There's going to be lower interest rates, more bidding wars, higher prices. Not the smart way to go. Buy now, pay the higher interest rate. When the rates drop in spring, you can always refinance for free. Then you'll get the right price for the right home and make sure you get the house without all the other bidding wars happening, and you'll be happier and you'll pay less at the end of the day.
And when he says you can refinance for free, that's with the Bagel Loan. With your purchase or refinance, $0 in closing costs on your new mortgage. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan, NMLS number 226715.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Friday, the state of Illinois is once again trying to take your guns without due process. We'll talk to the Illinois Freedom Caucus at 7:35.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Big show tomorrow because it's Friday. That means a Reardon Roundtable. Jane will be on the panel. State Representative Steve Butch, Tim Fitch. We have so much to talk about. I mean, it's almost one of those days, Sue, where we need like a 2-hour roundtable.
Yeah, no
We won't
kidding.
do that because then that would preempt Sue's News. We can't have that, especially on a Friday. But one of the stories that I have not touched this week and that I will not probably address on the roundtable because we have so much, but I'm fascinated by it and I'm keeping an eye on it. There's a big defamation suit against CNN that's going on in court. And Jessica Costescu, I hopefully didn't massacre her name, is with the Free Beacon covering this. Hi, Jessica. Welcome to 97.1 FM Talk. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Give the audience sort of the synopsis of what this case is all about, and then we can get to some of the testimony this week, because I've been watching some of it from that courtroom. But what is this all about? How did this happen?
Yeah, no, there's a lot happening. The trial started on Monday, and it's actually expected to go until next Friday. So this is a 2-week trial that's happening. And the whole case is basically surrounding this segment that CNN aired. It was specifically their anchor, Jake Tapper, back in 2021. So as Afghanis were trying to evacuate the country, as the U.S. pulled out and the Taliban was taken over, the plaintiff, Zachary Young, he's the one that's suing. He was working to get people out of Afghanistan. And when that segment aired, there's a lot to the case, but when that segment aired, they painted him as this illegal, he was working, they used the word black market, said he was working, it was like a black market, asking for exorbitant fees from Afghanis
only
that,
in it for
did
himself.
not have.
Yes, like they played him off as only in it for himself for financial gain, right?
Right, exactly. When, there's so many things that actually didn't happen and so many text messages, private text messages that are coming out now with CNN reporters, how he was only given 2 hours to respond to questions about the story that would be going out. And, 2 hours was not enough for him to answer all these questions. And he told them that you have inaccuracies in your story. And if you do go forward with this story and you publish my name, because him remaining anonymous and not having his name out there was key for him to doing these operations for big corporations. He was never evacuating Afghanis. He was never taking $15,000 from Afghanis because they can't afford it. I mean, no Afghani has $15,000 to evacuate. He was contracted through Bloomberg, through the company Audible, to get these people out.
So he's suing for $1 billion. He's in court in Florida. He testified. I was watching some of his testimony. The defendant's attorney, the CNN attorneys, are trying to beat him up pretty good. Do you have a sense of how this trial is going right now? Because obviously these are tough cases because there's a high threshold here on defamation, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've heard of this before, but Zachary Young, the plaintiff, he testified for 3 days straight. It finally ended today around 2 p.m. So now he's done, but he testified for 3 days. The cross-examination ended early this morning. What CNN tried to do today, the attorney in charge tried to do today, was there was this one contract that he had signed, because one of the main things that he's suing over, right, with the defamation, is that there's a loss of income. So he has testified that since that CNN segment aired in November of 2021, he has not made any money. He has not been able to find employment because he works in intelligence. Now he's made it known today during the trial that he is a CIA agent. Isn't anymore. I'm not sure. I think he still has a security clearance, but I'm also not. That's why this case is so complex, because a lot of these questions that the defendant's attorney is asking is really classified information, and so he can't really answer a lot of the things.
Some of this, so Jake Tapper never, ever apologized to this. He referred to, Fox News when a lot of this stuff was happening as a cancer on the democracy that we have, and accused Fox News of abrogating its grave responsibility to be fair and honest. Meantime, they're beating up on this kid. Now, eventually, CNN removes the term black market from the version of the segment that was online, and they issue an apology that acknowledges that he hadn't broken the laws, but they didn't acknowledge all the other stuff.
Right. And I mean, the defense attorney is very much still going forward with that claim. During the opening arguments for CNN, the attorney stated that everything in that report was accurate. And I mean, I guess the jury will have to deliberate next week and they'll decide. But a lot of the evidence shows that, the CNN just did not do its duty to do accurate reporting. Young told the CNN reporter, there was 2 of them that reached out to him about this story. He told them that you have inaccurate information. You need to hold off on this. Like this, he was telling them this is not true. And then, during the segment that they aired in November, they used some sort of testimony from 2 Afghanis that were trying to leave the country. Those two individuals, those Afghanis, had nothing to do with Zachary Young. Nothing to do. He had never spoken to them yet, doesn't know who they are. So
it's amazing. Really, and I heard his testimony. I thought he was very good on the stand, but, they were trying to go at him in any way, shape, or form. It will be fascinating. Is it also true, Jessica, that there was a settlement offer from CNN, but he turned it down because he wanted to go to trial?
Yes, I'm not sure how much it was. I think they kind of lowballed it from my understanding. Yeah. But I mean, I don't think there was really any way that whatever sort of settlement they were going to provide, it was not going to be enough. I mean, he testified that he has not made any money since 2021. And, he's suing for defamation of his own reputation, but also pretty much the destruction of his own personal company. He had a company that he was, doing all this sort of, all these evacuations. It was kind of sort of like a defense intelligence thing.
And it ruined it.
And, he hasn't made any money for 3, now going on 4 years. This trial has been 2.5 years in the making. So
unbelievable. Jessica Costescu, thank you so much. You think then a week left, it goes to the jury by next weekend would be the anticipation?
Yes. The judge, before the case was dismissed today, I think jury deliberation is going to happen sometime on Thursday going into Friday. So definitely this will be over by next Friday. And I'll be in there
Keep us posted.
until the very end.
It's really fascinating. Again, kind of undercovered nationally just because of the news cycle. But Jessica, good work. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. It's going to set a precedent.
Playback ready. Now, the audio cut of the day.
I did not mean to cut her off like that. We had to move to audio cut of the day. And let me just start with this just because there's a little nostalgia involved. So you remember this? Oh, no!
I do, but it's not a good memory.
How about this?
Oh.
No, that didn't work either. Man, I'll tell you, this is not my day. This is not my day with any of these things. No, it's not working, Ethan. It's just not working. It's doing that. So that kind of fails. Let's see. What can I use here? How about this?
Look at this. Everything is on fire.
5, 6, 8, 10 houses in our neighborhood just gone like that.
Never seen anything like this. Oh my gosh.
Everybody trying to get out.
Yeah, just some of the terrible scenes that people are looking at in the aftermath of these fires. But this was interesting. We played this one time. I'm going to qualify this for audio cut of the day because the other part I was going to try to play you was the orange juice commercial that Anita Bryant did in the late 1970s.
Oh my gosh.
Because she died today.
Oh,
Remember
I didn't
Anita
know that.
Bryant?
I do. From
Yeah.
those commercials.
Right. And then she did the song Paper Roses.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And she
that.
hated gay people. That was basically what she was known for.
All right.
But here's the situation where Gavin Newsom's on the scene in Pacific Palisades, and this woman goes up and starts shouting him down.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I
it
don't
doesn't-
believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the
Why
call.
is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through.
All right, well, then that might be legitimate because she's saying, why is he not taking the call? And he's trying to make the case, well, it's not going through right now, but she doesn't give up. I have
to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild. We're getting
Why
the
was there no
resources to do
water
it.
in the hydrants,
That's
Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you?
Let's just start with why are there no water in the hydrants?
Yeah.
Let's kind of dial in on that little nugget right there and see if we can build and get some answers to the people of California. But this is going to go on tonight. The winds are a lot lighter. That doesn't mean these fires are over. They're a little bit more contained than yesterday. The Palisades fire still running a little rampant. We'll have much more in a roundtable tomorrow. Sue, have a great night.
You too.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
There was an accident eastbound 70, really close to 5th Street. And it looks like they may have shut down all lanes here for a minute to try to get this cleared. Westbound traffic is slowing in the area as well. So 70, really tricky out there. But we also have a report of an overturned MoDOT plow truck. Now, this one was pretty far out. It was Highway H near Pike County Road 227. But we still have volume on the interior of the St. Louis area on southbound 270. And this is just south of Page, down through Doherty Ferry. The inner belt is jammed. There was an accident northbound approaching the Forest Park Parkway in the right lane that created a jam, but it's slow in both directions through there now. And Olive is still really slow tonight. And this is east of 170 out through 141. It's slightly better than yesterday, but not much. And it's really jammed, especially between Spady and 270. Southbound 141 is a parking lot south of Olive down through 64. If you are westbound on 70, we had a report of an incident before you get to Hanley that's causing a delay through there. And there was an earlier accident southbound 270, just south of 21, some slow-moving traffic there. Boy, I'll tell you what, southbound Clarkson or Olive is really jammed as you head on down toward Highway 100, the Manchester area tonight. If you are headed into Illinois, things look fine on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
No, this new dose is, well, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all.